This is technology correspondent Alan Dongle bringing you a news flash. A hospital has completed research on a resolution lab to treat cases of 8-bitten. Patients are promised they will feel totally next-gen. Alan Dongle here with a technology update. A hospital has developed an ultrasonic cannon for those suffering from animal magnetism. All small animals removed by the machine will be rehomed. This is Alan Dongle with today's Tech Report. A hospital has just invented a chromotherapy room, giving hope to those afflicted with grey anatomy. Remember, when it comes to medical treatments, it's not all black and white. In today's tech news, a 2-Point County hospital has developed a treatment for cubism. It's called a recovery unit and should bring relief to anyone who's feeling a bit too abstract. Now for the technology report with me, Alan Dongle. Good news for people with shock horror. A local hospital has just invented a discharger, which is sure to make patients feel more grounded. A new medical discovery in today's tech news. One of the county's hospitals is ready to open a department of cryptology that will treat patients with premature mummification. Let this be a lesson. Never mummify your relatives before their time. Tech correspondent Alan Dongle here. A local hospital has developed a treatment for turtle head called the Turbo Plunger. It should allow all those shy patients to finally come out of their shells. Here's the latest tech report with Alan Dongle. One of our hospitals has completed research on a treatment for DNA problems. It's called the Helixia and is guaranteed to give your genes a thorough wash. In today's technology news, there's been a medical breakthrough in one of our hospitals. Research is being completed on a fluid accelerator, which is sure to speed up recovery for all those suffering from fluid-related maladies. An exciting development in today's tech news, a hospital is now ready to build an injection room which will house the newly developed Jab Master. That doesn't sound painful at all. In the tech news today, a wonderful medical breakthrough. A local hospital is ready to build a mega scanner which should represent a great leap forward in diagnosing illnesses. Also, it's really big, which is always nice. And now for the technology report with Alan Dongle. A hospital in the county will soon be building its first X-ray machine, giving its doctors the ability to peer behind clothes, skin and muscle and see what's really going on.
You're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2-Point Radio.
Hey, this is Harrison Wolf on 2-Point Radio. I almost didn't show up for work today. Then I remembered how much you'd all miss me. So here I am.
You got Harrison Wolf on 2-Point Radio.
If you're the kind of person who leaves the radio on all the time, congratulations. You've just stumbled into Harrison Wolf's Power Hour here on 2-Point Radio. I'll try not to disturb you too much.
You are listening to Harrison Wolf on 2-Point Radio.
Do not adjust your set. What you're hearing isn't static or interference. It's Harrison Wolf. I'll be with you for the next few hours here on 2-Point Radio, playing some sweet tunes just like this one.
You got Harrison Wolf on 2-Point Radio.
If you've been wondering, hey, where did that energetic, happy-go-lucky Harrison Wolf go? Wonder no more. I'm here, bringing you more hours of joy on 2-Point Radio. Lucky you.
Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
Just when you thought it was safe to listen to the radio again, here's Harrison Wolf bringing you all the music and good vibes you can handle. My latest attempts to find a hobby, stamp collecting. I went down to the post office and bought all the stamps they had. So I guess I'm done. The world makes little sense in the morning. Everything's too loud, too fast, too bright. That's why you and me, we're night people. So stay tuned for some night music. If you've been trying to get through to the station today, you should know we're experiencing some technical difficulties. Well, if you want to know the truth, I unplugged the phone. Let's just imagine you requested this upcoming song. I shouldn't tell you this, but I'm really a caped crime fighter keeping the streets of 2 Point County clean for you all. Being a DJ is just my secret identity. Don't tell anyone.
You are listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
Is it just me, or are the pointy mountains getting less pointy? We should raise some money and get them sharpened. I mean, who wants to live in the shadow of blunt mountains? I was going to go to the zoo this weekend, but I was afraid they might not let me back out. And I'm not spending another weekend trying to convince the staff I'm not a hyena. They should listen to the radio more. What kind of hyena plays songs, after all?
You got Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
Sometimes when I'm sitting in the booth like this, completely alone, headphones pressing on my ears, I like to pretend I'm an astronaut lost in space. I'm just trying to get a message through. Until then, here's more music. Bad news, listeners. I'm being evicted at the end of the week. Can't really understand why. I pay my rent on time, don't play loud music, and all my neighbors are welcome to play with any of my venomous snakes. I got 48 of them. Today, I want to talk about something that's very close to my heart. My left lung. If you have any internal organs you'd like to discuss with us, drop us a line. You know the number. Why is discretion the only one that gets a soul? How about the soul of confidence or apathy? Chew on that while you listen to this next song. I want you to look at your radio. Really, look at it. Now pick it up. Feel the weight in your hand. Open a window. Now, I want you to throw the radio out, hard as you can, because music deserves to be free. Now go to your nearest radio repair shop. But you probably didn't hear that. I know what you're wondering. Is this all there is? You go to school, you get a job, you pay your taxes, watch TV, sleep every night. Well, that's not all there is. There's music, and music makes it all worthwhile. If you don't believe me, listen to this.
You got Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
The band claims the song you just heard was composed in outer space, somewhere around the second moon of Jupiter. That's the small one. You probably never heard it. Addressed to you. Of course, maybe they just drank too many cans of palpitation. Have you seen the latest edition of the 2 Point Squabbler? Of course not. Why would you? You're an intelligent human being. That's why you listen to the Harrison Wolf Power Hour. Just remember to keep doing that.
2 Point Radio. You're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
I'd almost forgotten how much I hated that song. It's like when you stub your toe and it hurts, but a week later you think, it didn't hurt that much. Then you stub your toe again, and you remember the pain, all the pain. Let's hope this next song doesn't sound like a stubbed toe. I'd stay away from Blyton this week. A new virus epidemic has broken out. They don't even have a name for it. Hey, here's an idea for competition. Write in with your suggestions, and I'll submit the best one to the health authorities.
You got Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
In case you've forgotten, you're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio. Don't worry though, I'm not a real wolf. Wolves can't DJ or hold down any other kind of steady job, really. That should have been your first clue. I don't often do this, but here's the weather report. A purple contentment seeps through the pores of Croquembouche. A vast cloud of inexperienced crows gathers for the annual feast over flattering. And finally, the tears of a clown swell to a tide down the streets of Grockle Bay. The next weather report will be in 17 years. You ever stare into empty space and just ponder the mysteries of the universe? Like, how many planets out there support life? And what's another word for thesaurus? More existential questions after this. It must get weird for you, hearing this voice coming out of nowhere every few minutes. But don't worry, I'm not inside your head. I'm just inside your radio. That's where the music lives too. Music like this. Shout out to all the hospital patients across 2 Point County. I know it's scary in those places, getting poked at by doctors, wondering if the Grim Reaper's gonna come. So this song is for all of you. Music's in my blood. The doctors say it's nothing to worry about though, so I'm just gonna keep playing records till someone tells me to stop. Look, either you're one of those people who tries to stuff as many marshmallows into their mouth as they can, or you're not. The important thing is to keep a sense of perspective. Now, stuff this fine song down your ears. There's a houseplant in the booth, and I've got to tell you, it's creeping me out. Who put it here? Who waters it? And why does it keep growing? One thing's for sure, I'm not turning my back on it. Now here's some nice chill-out music.
You are listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
Sitting here playing music can get a bit lonely. So why didn't you call in and tell me what you'd like to hear? That's right, Harrison Wolf's going to be taking requests right after this. I know I said I'd be taking requests, but I've got to tell you, you people have terrible taste. This is why I'm a professional. I'm the one who picks the songs. And right now, I pick this one. I got a bit cranky earlier. I'd like to say I'm sorry to all you faithful listeners. There's bad vibes in the booth today. Maybe I was under the influence of this sinister plant. This next song should get things back to normal. I keep talking about music, how important it is, how it makes you feel alive. But where's the actual live music in 2 Point County? It's nowhere, man. That's why I've decided to organize a classic rock festival. Stay tuned for more details. First thing we're going to need for our classic rock festival, a venue. There's a few obvious choices, Grog Ben's Ring, or that stadium where they play some sport or other. But really, what says rock better than the Meltdowns? That's right, folks. This concert is going to be hot. Just like this song.
You are listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
Now we have our venue sorted for this rock festival. We're going to need some headliners. Feel free to send in your suggestions. I'm already deep in talks with classic bands like Atrocious Blunder, the shrieking pillows, and satanic turnip. It's going to be a hell of a lineup. In the meantime, you can listen to this. The 2 Point Rock Festival is almost ready to happen. Over 20 bands signed up. I couldn't be more excited. All we have to do now is call up Town Hall and get the permit. Get ready to rock, people. Oh, major bummer after talking to the mayor about our rock festival. Turns out a concerned citizen has filed a motion to deny our permit. The festival is dead. For now, friends. But rock and roll lives on. And here's a song that proves it. Found out who was behind that motion that killed our rock festival dream. None other than Sir Nigel Bickleworth. I'm not a violent man, though, so all I did was lock him in the radio station's toilet, where I've been blasting some really loud music for the past 3 hours. Hope you like it, Nige. This next song is for all the hospital patients shaken up by that earthquake. Hope all your internal organs are still in the right place. I had a call from a patient in a local hospital who says they just had an earthquake. Either that or their experimental treatments are getting out of hand. I don't want to panic you all, but a nasty epidemic has broken out in 2 Point County. Hospitals are doing what they can, but, maybe you should panic. Good thing this radio booth is airtight. I'm hearing there's a new epidemic going around. This hypochondriac ain't leaving the station till they find a cure, which means more music like this. My therapist still says I need to find a hobby, so I decided to try whittling. Ever sat down with a small knife and a piece of wood? It's a very fulfilling experience. But how many steaks does one man need? The search continues. So I have a new hobby now, beekeeping. I only have 3 bees for now, not as easy to catch as you'd think, but I'm looking forward to all that sweet, sweet honey. And here's a sweet, sweet melody for you all. I'm still looking for that perfect hobby. This time I tried learning magic tricks. A fellow was being dishonest to myself, so I stopped. If anyone has a good home for 24 white rabbits, give me a call. I hear movie star Roderick Cushion has been visiting patients at a hospital. You ever seen one of his perilous spandex flicks? It's probably the reason these people ended up in hospital in the first place. One lucky hospital had a visit from Augustus Lavender, the holistic CEO today, but I'm not sure anybody wants an emergency aromatherapy ward. Sophie Nova, CEO of Bungle Tech, dropped by a local hospital this morning. The press release said she was offering to share her company's experimental treatments. You ask me, she just wanted to see what the competition is up to. It's not often one gets a look at Agatha Sphere, the reclusive leader of the Orb Foundation. But patients down at a local hospital saw her today when she popped in for a visit. No word yet on whether she tried to brainwash any of them. Bad news for the hospital who received a visit from Minister for Health Tarquin Foxbridge this morning. Probably outlawed sneezing and created a new tax on elbows. Remember, folks, we've got to vote these people out. Anybody spot Mayor Tabitha Winsock today as she visited one of the county's hospitals? Hey, it's never too early to canvass for the next election, right? 2 Point Radio's roving reporter Sally Fig Blanket visited some local hospitals for her latest piece, and you'll be able to enjoy it just as soon as we figure out how to show it to you over a radio set. Looks like Holistics have a new product on the market, an asparagus-scented candle that is guaranteed to enhance your afternoon napping. Holistics' usual customers, also known as the Less Sense Than Money Brigade, are already lining up to buy some. The latest invention from Bungle is here, the automatic nocturnal nail robot. This sentient little fellow will clip and file your nails while you sleep. This if you're crazy enough to let one inside your house. Listen up, people. We're in danger of being overrun by corporate interests. There'll be a protest outside of Jumbo headquarters in Krakenbush. You'll find me picketing there, so come and join us. In the meantime, our sponsor, Jumbo Nuts, would like to remind you just how tasty their product is. It says here that Titan of Industry, Jumbo McNally, visited a local hospital earlier for what he called an interesting business opportunity. Knowing the CEO of Jumbo Corp, that probably means some kind of hostile takeover attempt. I'm not going to say that all of the ills of 2 Point County are down to Jumbo Corp. Then again, I'm not saying they're not. But hey, what do I know? I'm just the guy who puts on records, right? Like this frisky little number.
You are listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
I hope you've taken your medication because it's time for the Harrison Wolf Show here on 2 Point Radio. And it's going to be a wild ride.
You got Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
Harrison Wolf here with another large dosage of truth and nonsense on 2 Point Radio. So stick around, unless you have something better to do.
2 Point Radio. You're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
This is Harrison Wolf, 2 Point Radio's voice of reason. I'm supposed to tell you we have a great show for you today, but how do I know? We haven't made it yet.
You are listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
If you'd like up-to-date popular music and fun-loving banter, change the station because this is 2 Point Radio, and I'm Harrison Wolf. Health and Safety Inspector Henry Jobsworth was seen checking into the Sure Thing Hotel in Grockle Bay yesterday. He was then seen running out and screaming this morning. Sounds about right. The airport closed down today for almost 2 hours after Health and Safety Inspector Henry Jobsworth saw the state of the buffet lunch they were serving to travelers. Hey, this is one bureaucratic action I can get behind. Looks like the healthcare branch of the Holistics company, known to some as Hemp, is in trouble again. Apparently Elixir, their latest product which claims to cure all ills, is in fact nothing but pine-scented prune juice. Well, I guess it should cure one ill at least. Our marketing director, Stacy, went to a Holistics nature commune to have her appendix removed, but all they had was tree surgeons. She'll need to visit a real hospital, but at least her hair's been nicely pruned. This stuff blows my mind. Bungle have released a new vitamin tablet that incorporates nanotechnology. You heard me. The tablet scans your body for the vitamins it needs and then synthesizes them. Either that or explodes inside you and kills you. You ever called one of Bungle Meditech's health hotlines? The voice on the other end is a sophisticated AI that tells you everything you're doing wrong with your lifestyle. Weird thing is, it sounds just like my mother. Nobody really knows what goes on in one of those orb wellness centers. I mean, they look like hospitals from the outside, but inside? Patients are forbidden from revealing the orb's secret healing techniques. Might just have to go undercover and see for myself. So I've been wondering, if the whole point of orb wellness centers is to use the natural healing power of the orb, can't you, just get yourself a ball or a balloon and hug it for a while? Might be worth a try the next time I get the flu. If you're unlucky enough to get sick, my advice, don't turn to Jumbo Medical Solutions. Their hospitals are well equipped, it's true, but what's the use of healing your body if you have to sell your soul, right? Jumbo Medical Solutions have got a new drug on the market that reduces stress and anxiety by 99%. Unfortunately, the debt you'll go into to afford it will raise them by 99.1%. Can't argue with numbers, man. Jumbo, the richest company around, has set up scanners and cameras all over 2-Point County, designed to gather data on every one of us. Personally, all they're going to get from me is a look of existential lethargy and helpless resignation. So, my usual look. Jumbo's new range of smart glasses and contact lenses can now send targeted advertising straight into your retina. Not so good if you're driving, but what's a few car accidents when you can find out all about those products you didn't know you needed? If you're about to agree to the terms and conditions of any Jumbo products, you might want to check the small print first. Turns out there's a clause there that says they're allowed to harvest your organs after you die. Hey, I guess it's nice of them to wait until after at least. Earlier today, Jasmine Odyssey was mobbed on the street by fans, but managed to lose them by hiding in a nearby hospital. The press release is calling it a charitable visit. Gotta love those PR people. Tried out a new hobby over the weekend. Crashing weddings. Didn't work out so well. I ruined the cake, and I don't think my car will ever be the same. Think this latest hobby I'm trying out might be the one that sticks. It's called incandescent meditation. What you do is tie a bunch of light bulbs around you and breathe deeply for 6 hours. On second thoughts, that sounds like too much breathing to me. I've been getting a bit desperate trying to find a hobby that will relax me. This time I gave seances a go, but talking to the air and getting no replies. I can do that in my day job, man. After trying 67 different hobbies, I'm finally giving up, boys and girls. Guess the only hobby I need is keeping you company and playing some sweet tunes. Just like this one. For all you night owls out there, it can get pretty lonely during those long, dark hours. So we're going to cover what you can get up to at night in 2-Point County. And if you've got any suggestions of your own, send them in. Hey, night owls. This tip for those who like to stay up might be a bit obvious, but it's still worth exploring. Late night TV. You gotta be adventurous. Click past the channels playing reruns and sports and find the really weird stuff. Goats playing chess. Make your own bomb shelter tutorials. It's all out there. More tips for all you night owls out there. Sweaty Palms is the 2-Point town that never sleeps. So why not take a walk around there with a notebook and some binoculars and have yourself a safari expedition? Just keep your distance from drunk students and other feral animals.
You got Harrison Wolf on 2-Point Radio.
Night owl Paul Bagsy has called in with a nocturnal pastime he'd like to share. Keep a watch on your garden gnomes using night vision and camera traps. Paul is convinced one day he'll capture footage of them coming to life. If you want to join his cause, have at it. Another night owl listener has called with a tip for those who can't sleep. Alfred Crockery suggests you break into one of the county museums and switch the labels around on all the exhibits. Don't see the point myself, but each to his own. Here's another tip for all you night owls. Poke a hole in the bedsheet. Get yourself to Blanding's Castle in Lower Flottering and start howling and rattling chains. If nothing else, the tourists who brave a night trip out there will get a kick out of it. I'm not one to encourage criminal behavior. Well, not too criminal. But any night owls near the meltdowns might want to try breaking into that government facility we're not supposed to know about. Do us all a favor and see if you can't find out what they're doing in there. Remember, if you're a night owl, whatever you do, wherever you go, be sure to take a radio with you so you can listen to old Harrison Wolf. I'm always there to keep you company. Time to talk about the supernatural underbelly of 2 Point County. As an example, last night, I saw what looked like a zombie squirrel in a tree by my house. So do call if you've experienced your own paranormal encounter. A fear shared is a fear halved. Tim Alcove, who works nights at the Crockle Bay branch of Roachburgers, has called in to tell us about his recent spooky experiences. Scratchy sounds behind the walls, burger buns walking across the floor, and an unearthly smell are just some of the phenomena he's seen. And nothing to do with the fast food joint standards of hygiene, I'm sure. In some exciting paranormal, or at least not quite normal news, there's been reports of a giant squid being seen just off the coast in Hogsport. If you're planning to join the squid stakeout party planned for tomorrow, just remember that all the things that live in the sea can be dangerous.
You are listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
Friend of the show and fellow paranormal enthusiast Brian Cabbage says he has proof of large mutant lizards living in the meltdowns. Hey, sounds plausible to me. Not so sure about the lasers shooting out of their eyes though, Brian. Students at the medical school called in earlier to say their campus may be the most haunted place in the county. They report seeing classroom skeletons dancing, strange colors floating in the air, and walls seeming to melt. Let's just remember these are medical students with access to some very interesting substances. It's time to panic, folks. A strange object has been hovering over Duckworth upon Bilge. UFO enthusiasts are flocking to the scene, though there's a good chance it's just a noxious cloud of gas spewed by the local factories. Anyway, I still say it's time to panic. Penelope Stuffage, the strict librarian of the Lower Bullocks County Library, has raised some eyebrows after claiming the building is haunted. According to Miss Stuffage, the ghost of her predecessor comes in every night and reclassifies books by an outdated system. Spooky stuff indeed. If you're planning to take a camping trip to the Tumble Downs, be sure to take the following with you: a compass, a sturdy tent, and the new multi-purpose repellent from Holistics, guaranteed to drive away wolves, bears, and chainsaw-wielding maniacs. There's no bears or wolves out there, but it's always good to be prepared. My therapist says I need to relax more. Find a hobby. If you have any suggestions, please send them in. I'll keep you posted on how my search goes. Anything's better than my last hobby: collecting traffic cones. Rise and shine, everyone. And if you happen to be in Lower Bullocks this morning, watch out for the gathering of druids down at Grog Ben's Ring. In a total coincidence, the town will also pay host to a psychology convention today. Should all work out nicely. It's easy to get lost around Tumble, and it's even easier to fall down. That's why authorities recommend only seasoned climbers and hikers visit this beautiful region of 2 Point County, or at least people with good health coverage. The rest of us will have to make do with a postcard. I'm not one for conspiracy theories, but you ever wondered why the meltdowns is in the state it's in? Abandoned buildings, mutated wildlife, eerie reports. You ask me, it's something to do with all the experiments going on in those secret government facilities. Actually, I guess I am one for conspiracy theories. What would 2 Point County do without the masses of tourists it attracts every year? Well, Premier Resort Crockle Bay would be out of business for one thing, and so would all the hospitals that specialize in exotic diseases. I guess what I'm saying is we should thank visitors for bringing their viruses in from all over the world. You should be careful what you name things. Just look at Rotting Hill, a former waste dump that got turned into a suburban residential area. Maybe if they called it Paradise Hill, the houses wouldn't be falling apart and its public services wouldn't be drowning in debt. Then again, a dump by any other name would smell just as putrid.
You're listening to Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio. If you ask anyone with even an iota of good sense and good taste, they will tell you there is only one program on 2 Point Radio worth listening to. It is this one. Welcome to the Sir Nigel Bickleworth Show.
This is Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
Do not despair, radio aficionados. Your daily dose of worldliness and sophistication has arrived. I am Nigel Bickleworth, and this is 2 Point Radio. 2 Point Radio. Ahoy hoy, my comrades in arts. Sir Nigel Bickleworth here, once more, filling your radio with charm and a discerning ear for truly exquisite music. And we begin with this immortal classic. You're listening to Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio. Your patience is finally rewarded, dear listener. That's right, your long wait for Sir Nigel Bickleworth's return is over. This is 2 Point Radio, and what a treasure trove of music we have lined up for you.
This is Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
You have arrived at 2 Point Radio's cultural oasis. I am Sir Nigel Bickleworth, here to nourish your mind and your soul for the next few hours with the finest sounds produced by man or beast. Dear listeners, if you are forced to visit a branch of Swindles, by all accounts 2 Point County's most popular bank, be prepared for an existential crisis. Be prepared also to lose all your money. That is all I will say on the subject. I feel it my duty to warn you about the dangers of traveling abroad. Not only will you encounter scoundrels who think nothing of pickpocketing your 19th century velvet wallet, but you will have to spend time at Grockle Falls Airport, a more ghastly place I cannot recall. And now for Sir Nigel Reviews, in which Sir Nigel reviews the new fitness centre in Lower Bullocks, the Steel Buns Gym. I spent a very pleasant afternoon in the sauna, but did not care for the smells as one walks down the corridor. In short, I would stick with a perspiration spa in Grockle Bay. For this very special edition of Sir Nigel Reviews, I visited the 7 Feet Under Funerary Home. I wish to make arrangements for my own eventual demise, and as with everything else, one must try before buying. After being buried for 3 hours in a variety of coffins, I finally decided on a lovely worm-resistant oak casket. Greatly recommended. It's time for another Sir Nigel Reviews. Many of you will be acquainted with the Croquembouche bookshop Turn Up the Volumes, but as it has recently come under new management, I decided to peruse their current selection. Far too many modern scribblers for my liking, but their section on pointillist poetry is still second to none. A new antique shop has opened in Brighton, so naturally I visited it for today's Sir Nigel Reviews. I must say that Barlow and Streaker Antiques is a terrible disappointment. The only real antiques appear to be the owners, who surely belong to another century, if not another world entirely. One to avoid. For this edition of Sir Nigel Reviews, I thought I would brave the so-called wonders of the modern world and attend a 3-dimensional screening at the local cinema. Why one would wish for an extra dimension to such drivel, I do not know. I spent much of the film ducking under the seat. I suggest you do the same. Today we begin a new segment in which we shall explore the history of 2 Point County and its many landmarks. We open with one of our most famous sites, Grogbin's Ring. Grogbin, as you may know, was a giant said to live in this region in ancient times. As for his use of the stones themselves, we can only speculate. I like to think they were his croquet hoops. We continue our series on the history of 2 Point County with the oldest farm in the region, Merrydung. Not named, as many people suppose, after the droppings of its livestock, the farm was founded by one Edmund Merrydung. He was so suited to his profession, he was said to have dung running through his veins. I sincerely hope that was just a colourful piece of imagery. In this edition of the History of 2 Point County, we are looking at One-Eyed Wallace, the delightful old lighthouse in Hogsport. It is named, as many of you will know, after Wallace Tugbottom, the region's first lighthouse keeper. What you may not know is that he lost his left eye in a high-stakes game of snap. No account of the history of our county could be complete without including the Underlook Hotel, sitting in the shadow of the Pointy Mountains and famed for its salacious past and present ghost sightings. It is hardly any wonder, given that the building was constructed over an ancient Morris dancer's burial ground. You have been warned. The ubiquitous Jasmine Odyssey, a popular warbler among our uneducated youth, was seen visiting a hospital earlier today. Perhaps she underwent a vocal cord transplant and will now sing with something resembling skill. We can only hope. I have received a note saying that the famed actor Roderick Cushion was visiting a local hospital earlier today. Something that might cause me a modicum of excitement if only I knew who he was. And just what the devil is a perilous spandex anyway? Moving on. I'm hearing that Augustus Lavender, the CEO of Holistics, visited a rival hospital today. No doubt offered to spread some ungodly incense around the place, as if natural remedies had any place in a hospital. Sophie Nova, CEO of Bungle Technologies, went on a tour of the county's many hospitals. If I know anything about Miss Bungle, she was probably there to mock their primitive, outdated equipment. It seems Agatha Sphere, the oddball who oversees the Orb Foundation, spent some time visiting hospitals today. I wouldn't be surprised if the shameless charlatan was recruiting the sick and infirm for her peculiar organization. Our esteemed government Minister for Health, Tarquin Foxbridge, has been doing the rounds at a few hospitals today. One can only hope his red tape can hold together these so-called public services. Mayor Winsock has spent much of the day touring some of our local hospitals. One wonders if she marveled at the advances in modern medicine or recoiled, as I do, at the conditions in some of our busiest facilities. Sally Figblanket, 2 Point Radio's roving reporter, has been investigating the state of our local hospitals today. I certainly hope she did not waste any time interviewing patients. I mean, what possible value would that have? I say, I felt the effects of that earthquake all the way over here. The framed honorary doctorate I was awarded for my many accomplishments very nearly fell on my head. I shall have to do some tidying up, so why don't you listen to some music while I do just that? We've received some reports of an earthquake which has caused particular damage to one of the county's hospitals. This is why one must never be without insurance, and I heartily recommend Swindle's Insurance, who in no way paid me to endorse them. Some disturbing news regarding an outbreak of disease in 2 Point County. Let us hope the brave men and women in our local hospital can deal with the matter swiftly. If not, let us hope a helicopter can airlift me to a safe location. One sees advertisements for Holistics, this supposedly environmentally conscious company, everywhere these days, mostly in the form of cheap and nasty pamphlets. Well, I, for one, won't be falling for their bargain basement tricks. I'm only influenced by expensive campaigns. Thank you very much. I wonder what madness Bungle Tech will dream up next. I read in the 2-point squabbler they've managed to attach a human ear to a kettle. Another victory for the modern world, I'm sure. A bit of a fiasco down at the Bungle Technologies lab this morning, I hear. It seems they were trying to collide two artificially created black holes, but the whole experiment went nowhere. You're listening to Nigel Bickleworth on 2-Point Radio. Yet another reason to avoid Crockle Falls Airport. You always find a group of those tiresome Orb Foundation acolytes handing out leaflets and chanting their damn mantras. The authorities really ought to do something about them. I stumbled into one of those Orb Foundation centers by mistake the other day. They tried to give me an IQ test, as if they could possibly measure the vast intellect of Sir Nigel Bickleworth. Take care, dear listeners, lest it happen to you. Honestly, the state of this radio station is deplorable at times. I have half a mind to speak to the janitor about it. In fact, I should call upon Mr. Henry Jobsworth, the county's health and safety inspector, and close personal friend of mine, to make his own assessment. I'll let you know how I get on. I have just spoken to Mr. Henry Jobsworth, the county's health and safety inspector, to report 2-Point Radio's lack of hygiene, but I was told he's too busy visiting hospitals. I suggest the inspector re-examines his priorities. In the meantime, here's another dreadful tune. 2-Point Radio. Our reporter on the field, Sally Fig Blanket, has just returned with her camera crew from another field trip. As to what she was reporting on, I cannot say. Nobody tells me anything. We ought to give thanks each day that our humble little county has attracted such giants of industry as Jumbo and some of these new upstarts. It is to these brave companies I dedicate the following song. I see Jumbo McNally, CEO of the all-powerful Jumbo Corp, has donated some of his free time to visit rival hospitals. How generous of this business titan to offer his advice to our ailing institutions. You're listening to Nigel Bickleworth on 2-Point Radio. People really ought to stop complaining about Jumbo Corp simply because they happen to be the best and most successful company around. I myself am no stranger to this very kind of envy, which can cause other, less talented DJs to lash out. My response? Let's play some more music. I thought I spotted Jumbo McNally, the genius businessman who heads Jumbo Corp, walking into our studio this morning. Alas, it was merely a cardboard cutout advertising his upcoming lecture on the financial future of 2-Point County. I've signed up to hear his inspiring words, and so should you. Once again, one or two scaremongers in the press are criticizing Jumbo Corp for buying up a few small companies, reducing their staff's wages and creating a massive monopoly. When will these people learn that this is what capitalism is all about? If you don't like it, go to one of those communist counties. See what you think of that. 2-Point Radio. Put aside your humdrum worries. It's time to stimulate the intellect and inspire the soul. That's right, this is Sir Nigel Bickleworth, here on 2-Point Radio. You're listening to Nigel Bickleworth on 2-Point Radio. I am Sir Nigel Bickleworth. This is 2-Point Radio, and you are a very fortunate audience. But no need to thank me, I'm just doing my job. 2-Point Radio. It's time to apply the nourishing balm that is my voice on all your cultural wounds. Yes, Sir Nigel Bickleworth here, welcoming you to another great show on 2-Point Radio. Holistics is apparently going to open another of its nature communes for sick people with more sense than money. Fortunately, I have equal amounts of sense and money. I visited a sick friend who has taken the foolish decision to check himself into one of Holistic's nature communes. Call me old-fashioned, but patients are supposed to be treated by doctors in hospitals, not have leaves rubbed on them by druids.
You're listening to Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
If you ask me, Bungle has overstepped its bounds with its latest treatment for wonky ankle syndrome. The procedure involves transplanting the foot of an athlete to the patient. Goodness knows what their treatment for athlete's foot might be.
You're listening to Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
Bungle Meditech has announced a major breakthrough in the cure for baldness, though they have refused to share any details. One wonders if this has anything to do with the explosion in Brighton, which saw a forest of hair spring up overnight. You won't catch me attending one of the Orb's wellness centres, I can assure you of that. I hear they make patients wear strange robes, for one thing. No, it's a good old-fashioned hospital gown for me, or nothing. Backless, of course.
You're listening to Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
The Orb Foundation's healthcare division is nothing but a load of hocus-pocus hogwash, if you ask me. It doesn't take a brain surgeon to see the only thing they're good at is brainwashing. I had a little mishap in the kitchen last night while slicing white truffles, making rather a dreadful gash in my index finger. But after a quick trip to a jumbo hospital to have a gold-laced plaster applied, all was well again. Money well spent, I say. Did you know that the doctors who work for Jumbo Medical Solutions are the richest in the world? You can keep all your fancy degrees. When it comes to inspiring confidence, money does it every time. If you are ever fortunate enough to visit the Jumbo head offices, I urge you to have a meal at its 17-star restaurant. Usually, only Jumbo executives are allowed to eat there, but they do make the odd exception for a humble radio broadcaster now and again.
You're listening to Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
Shares of Jumbo are at an all-time high today after its chief executive announced record earnings for the past year, which is good news for me because I have 3 shares myself. Here is a little celebratory song. Jumbo are about to launch their most expensive product yet on a breathless market. They haven't yet announced what the product is or in what way it might be useful, but already the pre-orders are through the roof. That's the genius of Jumbo, ladies and gentlemen. A cheeky little number for today's sommelier over the rainbow, the Marilyn Merlot, a full-bodied, plummy, almost sticky wine that seduces the palate with a kaleidoscope of sensual fruits and a lingering taste of caramel. Now excuse me while I drink another bottle. Time for another sommelier over the rainbow, today featuring a bottle of 2009 Pale Toad. This charmless Chardonnay is as insipid a wine as I've ever spat out. It has a foul nose, hinting at leftover baked beans. As for the taste, well, I would rather lick an actual toad than drink another glass. And now for today's sommelier over the rainbow, featuring the robust Spigot Noir. With a bouquet of blackberries and slightly used gym towels, this wine will simply knock your socks off. In fact, if I drink another glass, I may have to rename this segment Sommelier Under the Table. The wine under review in this edition of Sommelier Over the Rainbow is the evocatively named Quai Shiraz. An elegant little number to be sure, combining the flavour of toasted crumpets, slightly undercooked lobster, and the dew hanging from a flower in a remote mountain region. Recommended if you want to get sloshed in style. In today's sommelier over the rainbow, I look at the most popular, most vulgar sparkling wine in 2 Point County's supermarkets, the Porco Prosecco. Dress it up any way you want, Signor Porco. The fact remains that this is very much an amateur secco, not a pro one. This is Sir Nigel Reviews. Today, I wish to talk about Let There Be Lamps, the new lamp shop on Stumpy Lane. With over 20,000 varieties of lamps, you won't find a wider selection anywhere. Unfortunately, the light they emit will no doubt lay bare just how drab your little homes are, so perhaps a candle will suffice for most listeners. And now for a slightly different edition of Sir Nigel Reviews. Today I would like to review Blossington Park in Hogsport, where I recently made the mistake of eating my packed lunch. The benches are medieval torture devices, the grass is a nauseous shade of green, and there are children everywhere. Avoid like the literal plague. Last night I attended a local Amdram production, which I shall now review in the same vein as it was performed. Badly. The chosen play stank. The actors had the emotional range of cucumbers. Oh, and the costumes were a joke. I think that about covers it. 2 Point Radio. For this edition of Sir Nigel Reviews, I visited the Merrydung Market, paying particular attention to its artisanal cheese stall. That is to say, the stall itself was made of cheese. It being a warm, sunny day, you can imagine the aroma, not to mention the mess. Luckily, the stall next to it was made of crackers, so all ended well.
This is Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
In today's Sir Nigel Reviews, I would like to break precedent and recommend an electronic store, which one can access on what I believe is called the Information Highway. I am talking, of course, of Elbow Patches Direct. With the mere press of a computer pointing device, you will have access to hundreds of wonderful leather and suede patches. Your jackets will thank you for it. You're listening to Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio. I have received the latest lyrical opus by obscure local poet Tobias Dirge, who had the audacity to submit it for my Sir Nigel Review segment. Well, Mr. Dirge, I would urge that you purge our county of this execrable volume. Rhyming is not a right, it's a privilege. Anyone who has engaged in any sort of social interaction of late will be aware that there is a severe lack of good manners in our fair county. Since our education system seems incapable of fixing this problem, I entreat you to listen to my Sir Nigel's Guide to Good Manners series. Perhaps I alone can stem the tide of incivility. In this edition of my Guide to Good Manners, I tackle the tricky subject of hat wearing. When to wear one, when to remove one, and when to doff one. The answer to all these is, of course, never. None of you would look as remotely debonair in a hat as I do, so stay away from them. A rather delicate point in this edition of my Guide to Good Manners, that is, how to properly use public loo facilities. First of all, make no noise. Make no contact with any surface. Make no contact with any eyes. And for crying out loud, please at least pretend to wash your hands. If you should find yourself dining out at a reputable dining establishment, it behoves you to follow today's guide for good manners. Always order the most expensive items on the menu, particularly if you are ordering for a lady friend. Oh, and dress appropriately. One does not wish to eat while seeing a luridly attired oaf pawing at his cutlery. In today's Guide to Good Manners, I would like to turn my attention to the selection and drinking of wine. If you are the type that is content to swill the house red, whatever that may be, you have no place in a fine establishment. More than anything, however, you must remember that one never spits out wine in a restaurant. You would be surprised how many do. In today's guide to good manners, we shall discuss the making of telephone calls, particularly ones made to radio stations. Firstly, do not shout. Speak in a calm, clear voice, preferably in a voice you would deem too posh for everyday conversation. State your name and be polite at all times. Also, do not call me names and then quickly hang up. That is the height of rudeness. I will now discuss an important aspect of being a well-mannered individual, one that even the least of us does every single day. I'm talking of walking down the street. Do not jostle, do not spit, do not walk too slow or too fast, and most of all, do not get in my way. I hope I've made myself clear. Let us take a look at the proper behavior to exhibit when dealing with loud and unruly neighbors. The first step is to knock politely on their door, smile, and ask them to decrease their boisterousness. The second step is to call in the riot police and insist that they gas the hooligans at once. Let it not be said that Nigel Bickleworth is an obsolete stick in the mud. Today we tackle the manners of that most futuristic of communication methods, the electronic mail. The etiquette here is to write as one would a 19th century epistle. This means one may wait 2 or 3 weeks to reply in order to counterbalance the frightful immediacy of computerized letters. If you are not in the habit of attending classical concerts, you may want to listen to today's guide to good manners. Do not applaud until those who know better than you are applauding. Do not sit in front of me if you have a large head. And if you must cough, it had better be a death rattle or we shall have words. Incidentally, this also applies to plays. Today's guide to good manners is one that is dear to my heart. How to greet one's betters. Well, I, for one, would prefer you to bow, even kneel if you're up to it. Make no eye contact unless encouraged to do so. Also, do not forget that my first name is Sir. If all that is too much to remember, just don't greet me at all. If ever you have found yourself at a loss as to the correct usage of the English language, you may enjoy my popular guide to good grammar. A public service I perform with no shortage of humility. I would do one to proper enunciation as well, but I fear your underdeveloped vocal abilities would make this quite impossible. Today I will tackle what is to many of you an unsurmountable grammatical stumbling block. The difference between who and whom. It's really rather simple. The latter ends with an M, the former does not. One crucial thing to really understand when it comes to grammar, do not listen to those who say that language is a flexible, evolving thing. It has rules, and they must be obeyed, else we exist in linguistic chaos, and civilization will surely crumble. And yes, that split infinitive at the start was a little joke. Ha ha. You have doubtlessly had many anxious moments wondering whether you have placed your apostrophes correctly. Here is a simple grammar guide to help you through such torment. Try communicating through drawings. They may be more adequate to your intellectual level. If you were ever to tell me that you could care less, I will take you at your word and believe that you currently care more about the subject at hand than someone who does not care at all. Please keep this grammatical faux pas in mind, and we shall avoid any unfortunate misunderstandings. Do you sometimes wonder whether to say you and I or you and me? Congratulations, you are one of the many poorly educated louts who make life unbearable. There is a very simple formula you can apply to discover which form is the correct one, but I fear even that would be too complex for you poor souls. You may have heard at some point over the course of your lives that it is improper to end a sentence with a preposition. Bosh and piffle, I hear you say. Yet it is undoubtedly true. Unless you wish to sound like a barbarian, you will never again utter a phrase such as, "This isn't advice I'm going to listen to." If any of you wish to see my head explode, and I'm sure many among you do, all you need to do is send in a postcard in which you misspell effect for affect, or vice versa. Truly, there is no greater blight than this despicable and all too common error. At the urging of a fellow grammophile, I spent some time last night on something called a forum, which one can access via computer, also I'm told, via an ambulatory telephone. I shall not soon forget the crimes against the English language I witnessed there. I can only conclude that my guide to good grammar is a futile effort. That is all I will say for now. Let it never be said that I, Sir Nigel, am merely some city-bound dilettante incapable of roughing it in the wilderness. Why, only the other day my chauffeur took a wrong turn and we ended up on the edges of Tumblewood. I escaped unharmed from this bracing encounter and rather enjoyed the colour of the trees. So there. And now for a segment I call Sommelier Over the Rainbow, in which I will be discussing my favourite vintages, vineyards and corkscrews. Today we turn our attention to the 86 Chateau Clunk. I would describe its flavour as nice. Stay tuned for more wine talk next time. And so another day begins in 2 Point County, where students at the Mitten School of Medicine may soon be able to practice on actual living people. Any budding doctors should remember that gluing heads back on to accidentally decapitated patients is all very well with dummies, but there are no do-overs in real life. There is really very little reason to visit 2 Point County's desert region, and even less reason to set foot upon its drabbest little town. I speak, of course, of Smogley, where popular pastimes include vigorous coughing and waiting in line for surgery. Well, I suppose everyone has to live somewhere. Anyone who has spent time on a hot, sticky, uncomfortable beach knows what to expect of a place like Sweaty Palms. But this seaside resort has the added frisson of being in the shadow of spluttering Nora, a dormant but nonetheless menacing volcano, and suffering from frequent earthquakes. In short, I suggest you construct your puny little sandcastles elsewhere. How could one fail to be impressed by the high-rise modern surroundings of Pelican Wharf? Here, businesses live on the cutting edge, driven by the latest technologies, thriving under enormous pressures. Little wonder its residents demand nothing less from their healthcare services. Now excuse me while I have a lie down.
Tired of thinking for yourself? Wish you could donate all your money?
Aha!
Join the Orb Foundation today. The Orb is the perfect shape and the perfect solution. More 2 Point, more often. This is 2 Point Radio. Are your salt levels dangerously low? Eat some briny brittle. The taste of the sea right in your mouth. 24 hours a day. This is 2 Point Radio. Hungry? Anxious? Lonely? Eat some cheesy gubbins.
Cheesy gubbins.
Cheesy gubbins, the snack for people with nothing to lose. This is 2 Point Radio. If you want to experience all that the Pointy Mountains have to offer, stay at the Underlook Hotel. You'll never want to leave.
Thanks. You're welcome. Amazing.
Underlook Hotel. Serving 2 Point County. This is 2 Point Radio. Try Moose Juice. The healthiest drink on the market.
Wow!
Only the finest organic mooses. Make it into our juices. Moose Juice. More 2 Point, more often. This is 2 Point Radio. There's nothing like a burp. And now, Burp Soda comes in 3 new flavors. With 23% more fizz. Open your mouth and have a burp. 24 hours a day. This is 2 Point Radio. Read the 2 Point Squabbler for all your local news. 2 points of view on all subjects, because you decide what's true. Serving 2 Point County. This is 2 Point Radio. Today's sponsor is Rent an Eel. Rent an Eel for all of your short-term eel-based needs. This is 2 Point Radio. From the makers of Never Blink comes Pulpitation, the energy drink made with the discarded pulps of oranges and just a drop of rocket fuel. Pulpitation, because sleep is for the weak. More 2 Point, more often. This is 2 Point Radio. Tired of hearing all the good things going on in the world? Sick of cheery headlines and positive articles? Then read the Daily Sneer, because good news is bad news. 24 hours a day. This is 2 Point Radio. The new #1 album from Jasmine Odyssey, featuring the hit singles Nice Smelling Face,
You've got a nice smelling face.
and Fish Whispers.
Fish whispers. Well, that's all I can hear.
Salivation,
When he
the new
whispers
#1
to
album from
me,
Jasmine Odyssey, is out now.
Like a fish. Fish whispers, fish whispers, fish whispers.
Serving 2 Point County. This is 2 Point Radio. Terrible things happen every day. You could lose a toe. Your house. Even your life. That's why you need insurance like Swindles Insurance. Swindles, because peace of mind is worth a piece of your soul. This is 2 Point Radio. Trouble making ends meet? Need some extra dough? Call Smell My Cash. Because an 80% interest repayment rate is nothing to sniff at. Smell My Cash. The desperate solution. More 2 Point, more often. This is 2 Point Radio. Looking for a fun day out for all the family?
I guess.
Come to Grockle Bay Zoo and see stunt monkeys, whale pigs, and Venusian tigers.
What?
Grockle Bay Zoo. Almost no visitor fatalities for 2.5 weeks. 24 hours a day. This is 2 Point Radio. If you're feeling ill, the last thing you want to do is pump your body full of cheap artificial medicine. So stay at a holistics hospital, where our natural remedies are so expensive, they just have to be good for you. Holistics, where you can only hope it sticks. Serving 2 Point County. This is 2 Point Radio. They said he was too old. They said he looked ridiculous. But when the world needs a hero must put on his spandex. This summer, Roderick Cushion returns as Perilous Spandex in Perilous Spandex 5, A Stretch Too Far. This is 2 Point Radio. The world-renowned Cirque du Parfait is no longer under investigation. So come experience the magic, wonder and terror of our glass-boned acrobats and face-eating clowns. It's a parfait day at the circus for everyone.
More 2 Point, more often. This is 2 Point Radio.
Don't put your health in the hands of a quack. Come to Bungle Meditech, where advanced techniques and experimental treatments could make you live forever. Bungle Meditech. Other hospitals offer leeches. Ours will leave you speechless.
24 hours a day. This is 2 Point Radio.
After 4 rudderless years, 2 Point County has never been in greater need of strong leadership. So vote for 4 more years of Tabitha Winsock in the mayoral elections. Tabitha Winsock, wrong but stable.
Serving 2 Point County. This is 2 Point Radio.
Jumbo McNally, the greatest business leader in the world, will be presenting Jumbo's latest slate of minor upgrades at this week's Jumbo Expo. Buy your tickets now and don't forget to bring your credit cards.
This is 2 Point Radio.
Crime is on the rise. You may not even be safe in your own home. That's why you need Jumbo Security Systems. We'll fill your house with cameras, watch your every move,
Hello. Hey, buddy.
and even recommend what products to buy based on your behavior.
This is great.
Jumbo. We spy because we care.
More 2 Point, more often. This is 2 Point Radio.
Roach Burger's first drive-thru has opened in Grockle Bay. Now you can order your extra crunchy burgers without leaving the comfort of your car. And remember, order more than 10 Roach Burgers and get a free Roach Shake.
Roach Burgers!
24 hours a day. This is 2 Point Radio. Don't miss this week's unbelievable offers at Crumley Mega Market.
Buy 115 cans of tuna and get one free. And if you sign up for our store card, you'll get our exclusive one-time use Crumley can opener. So come on down to Crumley Mega Market in Duckworth upon Bilge.
Serving 2 Point County. This is 2 Point Radio.
New from Bungle. Pocket watches are a thing of the past. Now is the time for rocket watches. Bungle rocket watches fly around your head so you can always tell the time. Buy a Bungle rocket watch today and watch time fly.
More 2 Point, more often. This is 2 Point Radio.
Your dream home awaits you at the newly constructed opulent Bay Towers in Pelican Wharf. Our exclusive apartments have all the everyday essential conveniences. Megamax Cinema, bowling alley, and 8 bathrooms, 2 of which are fitted with golden toilets.
Well, I say.
And if it's real luxury you're after, come see our penthouses. Pelican Wharf, pricing normal people out of the market.
This is 2 Point Radio. You are listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
You're listening to Harrison Wolf, the lone voice of reason, ready to spread some truth to all our vigilant listeners. So open your eyes and your ears and get ready to find out what's really going on. But first, here are some people playing musical instruments. You hear that sound? That's the sound of people in power getting nervous. They want us to stay quiet, see? But we're not gonna do that. This thing's gonna blow up any minute, and this mic here is the match that lights the fuse. Stay tuned for the weather. Stay tuned for the weather. Regular listeners will know that's code for Harrison Wolf's got some big news. That's right. I just found out last week's fireworks were staged to send messages that can be seen from outer space. So keep an eye out for any unusual tourists.
You are listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
We had a caller on the line just now, but he sounded suspicious, so I hung up. Which means this week's big prize is still up for grabs. So why not try your luck and you could be the winner of a year's supply of lint. Microwaves. Let's talk microwaves. I mean, just think about this for a moment. Would you heat up your porridge in a nuclear reactor? Of course not. But that's what you're doing every morning. Sticking your breakfast in a radioactive waste machine. Be smart, people. A reminder that the annual 2 Point Charity Walkathon is this weekend. Don't forget to wear your ribbon. If you want to be easily tracked by government agencies, that is. This is serious, people. The jammy biscuits recipe has been changed. Oh, subtly, yeah. But you can taste the difference. This is how it starts. First, they replace our biscuits. Then they come for us. You could wake up tomorrow with 10% more vanilla in your genetic makeup. Soon enough, the whole of 2 Point will be taken over. Stay vigilant. You just listened to Music to Play Sims by Volume 3. A big hit back in the day for the background noise band. I heard they disbanded after the bassist got trapped in a corner by the misplaced piece of furniture. Hey, you enjoy swimming? Sure you do. It's a wonderful exercise. But if you're doing it in the local pool, you might like to know they're putting dangerous brain-altering chemicals in the water. They call it chlorine. I call it mind control. Now here's a record that's been making a real splash.
2 Point Radio.
You're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
In the weather today, weird cloud formations spotted overhead. Clouds in the shape of bottle openers, fuse boxes, and this is the scary one. Mushrooms. That's right. Mushroom clouds hovering over our homes, over your children's schools. Time to dig out those bomb shelters and wait out the end of times. There's a pigeon on the windowsill outside the booth. He's staring at me. Did you know you can train pigeons to do almost anything? What's he up to? Who sent him here? Oh, he just flew off. Guess he got everything he needed. Here's some more records. The 45th caller today will win tickets to the rock festival taking place next month. I admire our station manager's optimism. The most callers we've ever had in a day was 6. 2 of them were wrong numbers. It's time for the traffic report, like the real traffic, with cars and stuff. Pudding Lane has closed down due to the sinkhole that has swallowed up most of the road. Just another reminder of the void that will soon swallow up the rest of us. More merry tunes coming your way next. You know, I've DJ'd at over 20 stations all over the world. Even DJ'd in one of those cities under the sea they don't want you to know about. But this one still has the weirdest smell. Why is it? Whenever you clip your nails in front of a computer, one of the nails always flies into the cracks of your keyboard. Does the keyboard feed on them? I don't know. No one knows. I've started exploring past lives. I've tried hypnotizing myself with pendulums and pocket watches, but I find listening to my own voice works best. I say one thing and then another thing. And I say one thing and then another thing. It's possible you're now hypnotized too. Harrison Wolf here with another startling revelation from the dark side. You think the government is the only thing keeping tabs on us? How about nature? Fingerprints are the earliest forms of ID. Nature is watching our every move, and it can track us wherever we go. Think about that the next time you go on a hike. I tried a new hobby this week, just like my therapist recommended. Antique furniture restoration. It's not as relaxing as you'd think. The people sitting on those old couches can get pretty angry. Might be time to try something else. You're listening to Harrison Wolf. I don't know what my time-traveling future self is up to, but my arm just disappeared. In my hypnosis session yesterday, I discovered I was a mongoose in one of my previous lives. Then I went back even further and found out I was also a pterodactyl. Weird thing was, I still had a radio show to do every day. When I first moved to 2 Point County from across the pond, you want to know what I missed most? The bowling alleys, man. You ask me, they're every bit as important as libraries and museums. On the way, more tunes to make your head explode. My latest attempt at finding a hobby, bird watching. Man, those things are fast. Also, people get nervous when you carry binoculars wherever you go, especially when you're staying in their back gardens.
2 Point Radio.
You're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
You're listening to 2 Point Radio with your resident weirdo, Harrison Wolf. Stay tuned for some great music. You never know, we might get lucky.
You got Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
Harrison Wolf here on 2 Point Radio. Remember, I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to entertain myself.
2 Point Radio.
You're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
This is 2 Point Radio, and I'm Harrison Wolf. If you tuned in by mistake, you might as well stick around and listen. Saves you changing the station.
You are listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
It's the Harrison Wolf Show on 2 Point Radio now. But don't worry, I'm just here to change the music every few minutes.
You got Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
Welcome to 6 more hours of me, Harrison Wolf, 2 Point County's most enthusiastic radio DJ. I'm just so excited to be here.
2 Point Radio.
You're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
You're listening to the voice of Harrison Wolf, 2 Point Radio's third highest rated DJ. Stick around if you want to hear me talk some more.
You are listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
It's that time of day again. That's right, folks. Harrison Wolf is back on the airwaves. Stay tuned for my unique brand of enthusiastic banter.
You got Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
This is Harrison Wolf, and you're listening to 2 Point Radio. But you already knew that. Let's start the show with this uplifting little number.
2 Point Radio.
You're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
It's the moment you've been waiting for. The Harrison Wolf Power Hour. Let's just hope no one turns the power off.
You're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
Don't change that dial. Harrison Wolf is here on 2 Point County's #1 radio station. Let's go straight to some top 10 hits, shall we?
You got Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
I've been sitting here wondering how the town of Smoggley got its name. I just can't wrap my head around it. Probably because of all the time I've spent there breathing in those industrial fumes.
2 Point Radio.
You're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
I had the strangest night last night. I was playing poker with 2 lobsters, a leg table, and a sack of flour. I didn't win a single hand. Talk about poker faces. Then again, maybe it's time I stopped drinking absinthe. As many of you know, I have a keen interest in the paranormal. So I'm inviting any listeners who've had any supernatural encounters to write in or give me a call. Let's find out just how spooky 2 Point County really is.
2 Point Radio.
You're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
If you ever get the chance, pay a little visit to Grog Bin's Ring late at night. I like to hang out there in a haze of smoke and just see what happens. You'd be amazed how many druids visit Lower Bullocks every year. This next song is dedicated to them.
2 Point Radio.
You're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
Leslie called in just now to tell me about her supernatural experience. She was sitting in her flat in sweaty palms when the furniture started to move all by itself. Angry poltergeist or just another sweaty palms earthquake? Guess we'll never know.
2 Point Radio.
You're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
I went to the Cirque du Parfait recently. I was impressed by how experimental the acts were till I realized I was facing the wrong way and just looking at the tent wall.
You got Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
A friend of mine got me a working holiday at Mary Dunk Farm for my birthday. I say friend, but I haven't spoken to him since. Anyway, this next song is for anyone who's had to mix up a batch of hog slop.
You're listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
Never hurts to have a fallback career. I tried out as a paparazzo by hanging out at the Paradise Lust Hotel, where all the celebs stay. Managed to take a bunch of pictures of the doorman, but having a hard time selling them. I guess I'll stick to playing records. Like this one. Norman called in earlier to describe his paranormal encounter. He was lying drunk in a gutter when he saw a bright light. Alien abduction or a street lamp? We'll never know. Let me know if you've had any spooky experiences of your own. The Orb Foundation tried to recruit me this morning. 5th time this week. I kept telling him I already belonged to a weird cult. Radio DJs. I was born to play records, baby. Here's another one. I really hate how fashionable Pelican Wharf's gotten these days. You can't order a beer without someone sticking a cocktail umbrella in it. Won't even serve you unless you're wearing the right brand of clothes. Stay away from those places, listeners. Stay away. Had a call from Fred in Blyton who says his shed is haunted. Hears strange noises there every night. He's thinking he should stop storing all his cheese in there. What do you think? Remember, if you've had a supernatural encounter, let me know. Anyone who looks at me would think I'd be a loyal customer of Holistics. Let me tell you, the only environment those people care about is the air-conditioned bank vault where they keep all their money. Remember that next time you bathe in your jasmine-scented mud bath. I'll be keeping you company all through the night. Playing the only records this station can afford. Might need to open a can of palpitation to keep me awake. If you hear any snoring, just ignore it. Has anyone actually read the ingredients list for briny brittle? It just says salt, 84%. Other ingredients, 16%. Thinking of sending some samples to the lab to find out what those are. You don't need a lab to know what's coming up next. More great tunes. 2 Point County is just so damn normal. We're ruled by gray suits sitting in corporate offices, building up the tower of capitalism. Well, it's time for action. I want you to go out there and do something subversive. Be a rebel. Then call in and tell us all about it. Maple is one of the many rebels, pranksters, and anarchists who's called in to tell us about their subversive acts. She spray-painted courgettes all over the front of a fast food joint. Well done, Maple. This next track's for you.
You are listening to Harrison Wolf on 2 Point Radio.
Maple is one of the many rebels, pranksters, and anarchists who's called in to tell us about their subversive acts. She spray-painted courgettes all over the front of a fast food joint. Well done, Maple. This next track's for you. Sonia just called in to tell us about her subversive act of the day. She went into one of those swanky Pelican Wharf bars and switched all the fancy drinks for cans of burp. Keep up the anarchy, people. Phil called us from Blyton earlier, where he changed a sign that said, "Buy Swindle's Premium Insurance" to "Don't buy Swindle's Premium Insurance." That's subtle work, Phil. I like it. More subversion after this. A big hand for Fiona Figtree, who just called with the best subversive act so far. Fiona sneaked into the mayor's office and blunted all her pencils. That should bring bureaucracy crashing down. Our work here is done, people.
You're listening to Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
Welcome back to your favorite radio station with the vastly overqualified Sir Nigel Bickleworth. I'm here to inform, to entertain, and to bring some small measure of sophistication to your drab little lives. Should any of you have any requests for popular tunes, as I believe people like to call them, do not hesitate to repress that impulse. I have no intention of playing any of that drivel. I am, as you know, an expert on local history, so from time to time I shall endeavour to educate you all on matters of 2 Points past. For instance, did you know the recently constructed hospital was built on a hamster burial ground? Of course, I for one would not be surprised if this parasite hotel attracted a whole new kind of rodent. Next, another stirring piece of contemporary music.
2 Point Radio.
The weather report. I'm expected to read the weather. Well, if I must, chances of precipitation have increased exponentially due to a higher concentration of moisture at high altitudes. And that's the weather.
2 Point Radio.
Wasn't that an abysmal little tune? And if you enjoyed that, you will positively love the execrable ditty coming up next.
This is Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
You're listening to the illuminating Sir Nigel Bickleworth. As you know, I am the former film critic for the Daily Sneer, a national newspaper of some renown, so you can trust my opinion when I say every single film you love is an artless, trashy cash grab you should be ashamed of watching. Stay tuned for more opinions. Here is a list of things I like and don't like. Things I don't like. Almost anything you could care to mention. Things I do like, making lists of things I don't like. More gems on the way after whatever sounds emanate from your radio when I'm not talking. Another titbit of 2 Point history for you. Did you know the medieval monk Matthew Wobertide founded a monastery on what is now a pet shop? Pity the animals don't keep a vow of silence. I simply cannot stand all that squawking. Not dissimilar to the music coming up next. Time for a call-in, and today's subject is, oh goody, some upcoming prehistoric sporting event, which will no doubt elicit any number of tribal grunts from our listeners. Fortunately, the supporters of 2 Point FC have yet to decipher how to operate the telephone, so let's just sit in silence for a while, shall we? As if we needed any further example of the decline of Western civilization, I leave you with this nugget. I used to live in a mansion. Now I live in a maisonette. This is what society has reduced one of its greatest talents to. Truly, these are the end of times. My contract stipulates I must read the following ad copy. Buy Potsworth frozen peas. Potsworth frozen peas grow in July, and by the following month, which is August, they are canned and ready to... Oh, I can't read this swill. Who wrote it? And how can you grow frozen peas? And who freezes cans? Is it really necessary to tell everyone which month follows July? And this sentence construction, good grief, you treat them like farmyard animals. The whole thing is a disgrace to humanity. Honest, I can't do this anymore. You waste my time, you people. I've had enough. I'm going for a Chardonnay.
This is Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
Fear not, faithful listeners, your favourite radio personality, Sir Nigel Bickleworth, is back. As much as I would like to quit this infernal booth forever, I just cannot deprive you of my wit. I take the responsibility of being your only source of intellectual stimulation very seriously indeed. More instantly forgettable melodies coming up next. I have a letter here from Gabby Digger, who says, I have looked into your background, Mr. Bickleworth, and have discovered you are not a sir at all. Please stop referring to yourself as such. Well, Miss Digger, had you but excavated a little further, you would have seen that sir is actually my first given name. Nigel is merely my middle name. So when I say I am Sir Nigel Bickleworth, I am being 100% accurate. Now try digging yourself out of that hole, Gabby. Ha! It's time for the traffic report, in which I wish to point out the extreme rudeness of today's drivers. Really, it is high time there was an etiquette test before one was able to gain a license. And to the rotund gentleman who raised his finger at me this morning, you know which finger I'm talking about. I will just say this. You, sir, are a bore and a clod. Next traffic report in an hour.
2 Point Radio.
I overheard two adolescents mocking a poster advertising this very radio station and yours truly. And can you believe it? They didn't even know what radio was. I'll tell you what radio is, you sultana-brained miscreants. It is a delivery system for class and integrity. It is the home of the world's noblest profession. And it is the fastest-growing medium among people with 3-figure IQs. Next up, some god-awful jingles. I hope you enjoyed that piece of sonic horse manure passing itself off as music. Maybe one day the station manager will listen to me and we can play some proper music. Bartok, Shostakovich, real composers.
This is Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
One must put up with so many offensive inventions these days, pure travesties that belittle all of humanity. But I ask you, pork pies? What will they think of next?
This is Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
I'm sure you will agree that was an extraordinary piece of music, a wonderful example of non-diatonic counterpoint. Stay tuned for more groundbreaking compositions. A word to the editors of our esteemed local newspaper in regard to the recent headline which read, "Local radio DJ is a total pendant." In the parlance of today's youth, I do not think that means what you think it means. The word you were looking for was pedant. Time for Question of the Day, in which I invite you to ask me anything you want, no matter how difficult the subject. Our caller is Patrick. What is your question, Patrick?
Can you explain what a quantum harmonic oscillator is?
Yes, I can. And we'll be back with another question of the day tomorrow. Today, I would like to introduce a new segment which I call 2 Points of View. In it, I will give you 2 rather different points of view on a contentious subject. So, for example, view A could be, this is a rather fine idea for a segment, whereas view B would then be, this segment is an embarrassing waste of time. Stay tuned for more of these controversial debates next week.
This is Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
And now for the traffic report, in which I report that I despise cyclists. If you can't handle a motorized vehicle, then I suggest you get off the road. And that's today's traffic report.
2 Point Radio.
Fear not, dear listeners, for Sir Nigel Bickleworth has arrived to elevate your radio experience beyond the mundane. But first, a piece of music. You're listening to Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio. Forget all the nonsense you've heard so far. I am Nigel Bickleworth, and I'm here to restore civility to 2 Point Radio.
This is Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
Welcome, my friends, my chums, to 2 Point Radio's haven of culture in an otherwise blighted landscape. I am your host, Sir Nigel Bickleworth, here to amuse and delight you.
2 Point Radio.
This is 2 Point Radio, and I am Nigel Bickleworth at your service. And so we begin another of our shows with a little something I like to call music. You're listening to Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio. Hello, my dear confidants. Sir Nigel Bickleworth, hero of the cultural elites, has arrived to grace your radio with his infinite insight and good taste.
This is Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
And once again, I, Sir Nigel Bickleworth, bid you a very cordial welcome to my humble show. For the next few hours, I shall endeavour to enlighten your grey little lives.
Point Radio. You are listening to the voice of Nigel Bickleworth, your host and cultural guide on 2 Point Radio. And what a splendid show I have for you today. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio. And now, the dulcet tones of yours truly, Sir Nigel Bickleworth. We have fascinating discussions and some top-notch melodies coming your way right here on 2 Point Radio.
This is Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
Nigel Bickleworth here, once more bestowing your radio apparatus with erudition and refinement. Stay tuned for more of my unsolicited opinions. 2 Point Radio. I'm back, dear listeners, and today the Sir Nigel Bickleworth Show is brought to you by Pretense, the scent all this year's sophisticates are wearing. I'm delighted to say I will be giving a lecture at our local university on the topic of pretentiousness, namely how to do it correctly. Perhaps my contribution will put a halt to the alarming decline in educational standards in our community. I shall be visiting the Old Croc Museum in Sweaty Palms later this week. I sincerely hope they have corrected the multiple cases of mislabeled geodes I spotted last time. Speaking of museums, I believe this next song belongs in one. The lack of an opera house in this county is making us culturally irrelevant. We will never be taken seriously until we remedy the situation. So join me tomorrow as we march into Croquembouche and demand the mayor build one. In the meantime, here's an overture to get us in the mood. I see Jasmine Odyssey is in the news again. We live in an age of vapid celebrities, where real music is pushed aside like a vagabond asking for change. Real music like the following masterpiece. 2 Point Radio. Is there any more starring sight than watching One-Eyed Wallace, our venerable old lighthouse, casting its wandering and luminescent gaze upon the sea? So it is to Wallace I dedicate this delightful little piece of music. Someone left snacks in our kitchen, and, feeling a mite peckish, I made the mistake of inserting one into my mouth. I cannot begin to describe the vile, unnatural taste. Apparently, these monstrosities go by the moniker of cheesy gubbins. Avoid them at all costs. Hopefully, this next tune will cleanse my palate. I have been informed that cheesy gubbins are a proud sponsor of 2 Point Radio, and are in fact delicious morsels of tempting cheddary delectation. I will choke down my pride and admit I was wrong. Now let us savor some music and never speak of this again. Is there any more hideous space in all this county than the meltdowns? Nothing but a toxic wasteland. Why, when I was a lad, it was merely a wasteland. That's progress for you. That's the kind of music that is apt to make spluttering Nora wake up in a violent fury. Perhaps this next tune can calm down our mercurial volcano. I know it soothes my nerves whenever I hear it.
This is Nigel Bickleworth on 2 Point Radio.
The sport of kings may be polo, but the sport of gentlemen is played at the sloop. You won't see me there, of course. Far too much rough and tumble even in the stands, but it's nice to know it's there. I suppose it's that time of year when Grockle Bay is inundated with hormonally charged vandals, known to the world as students. Excuse me while I take a bottle of sherry and retreat to my bomb shelter. You may have noticed the composer of the piece of music I played earlier was Cornelius Stuckenglock. He led an interesting life, did old Cornelius, briefly married to a jacket potato. But then genius does lead to the odd eccentricity or two. It has perhaps escaped the attention of most, but 2 Point County features a true marvel of modern engineering, the Pointy Mountain Bridge. If you enjoy crossing things, you simply must experience it for yourself.
We now bring you this segment, Sir Nigel Reviews. Today I take a look at the new fine dining establishment Le Soufflé Triste. And what a delight for the experienced palate this is. The scrambled emu eggs on pickled toast are particularly good. I give it 4 salt shakers. In today's Sir Nigel Reviews, I cast a critical eye on Grockle Bay's most exclusive nightclub, the Coba Banana. At least, I thought it was exclusive. I entered expecting class, elegance, and a lounge jazz band. Instead, I got youthful, sweaty revelers convulsing to some ungodly noise. I shall not be making a repeat visit. And now, Sir Nigel Reviews. This time, looking at the new bakery in Croquembouche, Do Re Mi. It has a breathtaking selection of musically inspired pastries, such as the strumming strudel and the cacophonous cake. I award it 4 macarons. Ha! This week, I headed to the Pointy Mountains for my Sir Nigel Reviews segment. If you have any plans of staying at the Underlook Hotel, I must warn you, be prepared to hear typewriter noises throughout the night. As if that weren't bad enough, there's blood coming off elevators and ghosts everywhere. Hardly a restful stay, I'm sure you'll agree. In this edition of Sir Nigel Reviews, I will be talking about the tea shop in Hogsport, scone but not forgotten. And, as its name implies, it is indeed a memorable dining experience, with over 700 varieties of teas and 400 types of scones. You will never run out of things to scoff right down. Today I will be reviewing 2 Point's premier walking stick shop, Lean On Me, which can be found tucked away in Pelican Wharf. After test walking a variety of sticks with all manner of beautiful handles, I can genuinely say I did not fall down once. And what greater recommendation could you possibly want? Time for Sir Nigel Reviews. This week I stayed at the Sure Thing Hotel in Sweaty Palms. I went incognito, of course, which perhaps explains the appalling service I experienced. It also explains why none of the guests ever stayed more than an hour. I award it 1 star for the novelty of its rubber bed sheets. Today's Sir Nigel Reviews features my trip to the new exotic restaurant Venusian Spice. Well, if this is what passes for haute cuisine beyond our green shores, I shan't be travelling anytime soon. I mean, chilies? Garlic? Not for me, thank you. I don't usually review supermarkets, but since I was forced to go into the crumbly mega market down in Duckworth-upon-Bilge the other day, I simply had no choice. I have never seen such inferior products. If you want to find quality food, you're better off fishing from a cesspool. Avoid. I have only one word to say to you today. Trousers, people. Trousers. They ought to be worn at all times. They protect against sunburn and knobbly knee syndrome. Take heed, dear listeners. A bit of a sticky wicket this morning. Some damn fool put his jam sarnie on it. As you can imagine, the game's been called off. And that's the end of my sport roundup. The 2 Point Symphony Orchestra did a passable rendition of Sibelius's second harmonica concerto, but the oboe player was simply atrocious. Deserves to be turned into an amuse-bouche, if you ask me. Much like musicians in this next piece. It's time for Sommelier Over the Rainbow. This week, I will be talking about one of my very favourite wines, the Crushed Cricket Cabernet Sauvignon. Delicate flavours of caraway, silver polish, and just a hint of cricket. I, for one, drink a bottle every morning, and so should you. Since it is likely you did not fully appreciate the last piece of music I played for you, I just want to say how disappointed I am in all of you. For shame! You hardly deserve to listen to a quality show like mine. Let's hope you can better appreciate this next little ditty. People say to me, Sir Nigel, how do you find the fortitude to continue such excellent work day after day? And I reply, because I have been bestowed the gift of broadcasting by some divine force, you simple peasant. One does what one is born to do, and I was born to play this next tune. 2 Point County wasn't always barren of intellect and academic achievement, you know. The little-known philosopher Bernard Tweedwell was born in a Rotting Hill hospital. His greatest contribution was the notion that eyelashes have feelings too. Make of that what you will. I have a tickle at the back of my throat this morning. After checking the 2 Point Health Service website, it suggests I might be suffering from a bout of bubonic death clog. If you don't hear from me again, you will know why. This could very well be my farewell song. Enjoy it. Rejoice, my friends, for I am alive and well. I had a cough drop during that song, and the tickle has completely cleared. No bubonic death clog for me. I have selected a very special tune to celebrate the occasion. Education is the foundation on which civilization is built. For example, notice how the 3 nouns I used in the previous sentence all have a similar sound. That is called a rhyme. Now off you go to look up what a noun is. Standing in Hogsport yesterday evening, I wondered if even the great masters could have captured the dwindling light as it painted its dreamy oranges across the sky. Then I realized the great masters never had to contend with the fumes spewing out of the meltdowns. I don't mind telling you it's a bit nippy in the booth today. The heater is malfunctioning and the window is stuck in an open position. I have no choice but to engage in vigorous exercise. Now, if you'll excuse me... I have discovered the heater had been jammed with sodium snacks. No wonder it ceased to function. I suspect this is the work of that unhygienic anarchist, Harrison Wolf. Words will be had, I assure you.
2 Point Radio.
If you enjoyed that charming tune, perhaps you can repay me by writing to the mayor. I am of the opinion that 2 Point County has far too many people. So join me in imploring our elected official to close the borders at once. If you're still not so inclined, this next song should seal the deal. If you enjoyed that charming tune, perhaps you can repay me by writing to the mayor. I am of the opinion that 2 Point County has far too many people. So join me in imploring our elected official.
This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
This is Ricky Hawthorne, bringing talk, music, and news to the whole of 2 Point County. And if you're listening to us from the newly opened hospital, just turn up that volume, because nothing drowns out the sound of sick people like the voice of a world-class DJ. Coming up next, 42 hours of music from the background band. Enjoy!
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
In today's Gossip Roundup, Mrs. Eggshock is still wearing that leg cast we all know is a fake. The squatters in number 19 Mud Street have put up new curtains, and a new species of venomous spider is poised to infest our homes this summer. More gossip next time. Some sad news today, all the way from our neighbouring county, where we hear the ratings for my brother's radio show are down for the first time in a decade. So let's all keep our fingers crossed for Simon Hawthorne and hope he doesn't lose his job. Living on the streets, hugging a flea-ridden blanket, wondering where it all went wrong. Why couldn't be as successful as his brother Ricky? Chin up, Si. There's a funny sort of smell in the booth this morning. Burnt toast, I'd say, from a slightly past its sell-by-date granary loaf. Nope. I tell a lie, I think it might be more of a seeded farmhouse. Now, I know what you're thinking. Sounds like something's gone wrong with old Ricky's brain, but the explanation is much simpler. That's right, the new air fresheners from our sponsors, Crusty Fragrance, have arrived. So buy Crusty Fresheners and your whole house could smell of toast.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
Hello to all my faithful listeners out there. This is Ricky Hawthorne, ready to pour another jar of good old-fashioned honey into your ears. And remember, the honey I'm referring to here is my voice. There's no need to panic and call in to complain like last time. I've been informed that the local library is implementing a new policy this week. Head librarian Penelope Staffage, tired of so many people forgetting to return books, is threatening to sneak into our homes at night and recover any overdue volumes while we sleep. So if you find your breakfast cereals arranged alphabetically and shelved by fiber content, don't be alarmed. It's just old Penelope doing her job. I was invited to the home of one of my most ardent fans earlier this week for a nice cup of tea and a fruit bun. What a marvellous time it was. Mrs. Tickling put on a very generous spread indeed. Though I must say Mr. Tickling, who you may know is the owner of Tickling's Butchers, was surprised to find me home when he arrived earlier than usual. There's nothing like being chased by a man with a cleaver to get the old ticker going. In other news, for the next year, I will be doing daily 20-minute unpaid advertisements for Tickling's Butchers, the beef that can't be beat. You know, other DJs, some of them on this very station, believe it or not, can be, well, a tad grumpy, to be perfectly blunt. I'm not naming any names, mind you. Nigel! Anyway, I've filled the booth with kitten pictures, so hopefully we'll have nothing but happiness on the airwaves from now on.
This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
You'll have to excuse me if I sound a little less effervescent than usual today. It was a bit of a restless night in the Hawthorne household, and I'm afraid I didn't get much sleep. My spaniel, Federico, woke me up in a fit of barking, and when I went to fetch him a bowl of baked beans, that always calms him right down, I noticed a bit of a commotion outside. 7 police cars, 2 ambulances, and the remains of what I believe one calls a street gang fight. Not a pretty sight, let me tell you. Still, all those blue and red lights certainly did give the street a festive look, and I'm happy to say by this morning, most of the teeth had been hosed away. Now, let's listen to some jolly wake-me-up music. What a smashing day for a bit of gardening. I mean, who doesn't like gardening? Digging up a bit of soil, sticking your hands in a bit of manure. Oh, I can almost smell it now. No, wait, the sewage pipes burst again. No, my mistake. Anyway, keep those fingers green.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
We're coming up to the top of the hour, which, if you ask me, is the very best part of the hour. I know, some of you will say, but Ricky, what about the bottom of the hour? And you'd be right. Today's weather report. The sun is out again. It may be obscured by dark clouds, but I'm pretty sure the sun is right there behind them. And really, just think of the marvel that is the sun. Every single day, without fail, it shows up to light up our streets, warm our faces, burn our ants. And let's not forget about air. Where would we be without that? Stay tuned for the traffic report. And now, how about some classical music? No? Alrighty then.
This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
You may find this hard to believe, but I was very angry as a child. Chalk it up to parental neglect, all my brother Simon's constant bullying. The fact is that I was a rage-filled young man, as likely to bite your cheek off as to shake your hand. So what changed? Why, I found my calling, reaching out to millions, sometimes dozens of people over this wonderful medium we call radio. So I want to thank every single one of you out there, and pray I never lose my job, because I know where you all live. Now, some more music guaranteed to put your brain to sleep. Robberies are up 20%, arson is up 40%, and parking violations are down 7%. Marvelous! I'd like you to all think of a butterfly sleepily waving its colorful wings. Isn't that a lovely image? Meanwhile, in the news today, the Mayor has announced a 100% increase in our taxes. You won't believe what happened this morning. The water pipes in my kitchen burst, flooding the house and causing a cave-in the living room. But that's what you get for living in a hard water area, I suppose. We'll be back right after this. Well, obviously that was not the tune I meant to play, but it seems we have one of those pesky viruses in the system. Wait. No, my producer's telling me we've been hacked. It's just one of those days. I have no idea what song will play next, but I hope it's a good one. Ricky Hawthorne here, bringing you music, sunshine, and old-fashioned charm on 2 Point Radio. And we begin with a belter of a track.
This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
You're tuned in to 2 Point Radio, and I'm your host, Ricky Hawthorne. Stick around for some fabulous tunes and just a little bit of chatter.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
It's time to turn your radio frown upside down. That's right, Ricky Hawthorne's here to chase away the clouds. First, a lively little song to kick things off. Hello, hello, hello! Ricky Hawthorne is back on 2 Point Radio. I hope you've missed me as much as I've missed you.
This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
Welcome back to the Ricky Hawthorne Show, 2 Point Radio's top-rated program. We have some wonderful music coming up, so let's not waste any more time.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorne, the only radio DJ guaranteed to bring happiness into your lives. Now, let's listen to a nice uplifting tune. You're on the air with Ricky Hawthorne. Well, actually, I'm the one who's on the air. You're just listening to me being on the air. You're listening to the air.
This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
Welcome to another edition of Ricky Hawthorne Speaks in Between Bits of Music. That's right, and I'll be speaking again after this bit of music.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
Hi, I'm Ricky Hawthorne, and for the next few hours, I'll be playing you all the greatest hits of the decade. Which decade? Stay tuned to find out. Hello, dear listeners. I'm Ricky Hawthorne. How are you doing this fine morning? Is it morning? I'm all confused. Let's play a record while I sort myself out. You know, I've been humming that tune to myself all week, which is uncanny because I've never heard it before. Or have I? Oh well, more catchy music coming right up. Well, would you believe it? A tree came crashing through my conservatory last night. Well, no sense dwelling on the past, and the place does look greener now. Here's a nice song to celebrate. Hearing such wonderful music reminds me of my youth, when I could just sit quietly and listen to songs one after the other. Well, never mind. Let's listen to some more songs. Yesterday was the 25th anniversary of my time here on 2 Point Radio. Back then, we didn't have all these technological gizmos, you know. We had to wind up the records manually and shout really loudly. Oh, how times have changed. Remember everyone, it's quiz night at the Oily Cormorant down in Hogsport. I'll be there with my team getting every question wrong and having a jolly good time of it. Now that's the kind of song I like to listen to when I'm out jogging every morning. I like to run down lower bullocks as fast as I can until I fall to the ground. Good thing there's a few hospitals nearby. Did I ever tell you about the time I was in a band? Hard to believe these days, but there I was, a long-haired bass player with the fry-ups, dreaming of glory. One of these days I'll dig up one of our old demos and play it for you. Until then, here's a professionally produced compact disc recording by a band whose name I can't pronounce. You know, we have an old saying in the radio game, always pretend to like the music. I think that's good advice for us all, and I can tell you with all sincerity that this next track is an absolute corker.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
Requests have been pouring in for us to play Jasmine Odyssey's latest single, The Toes of Love. Unfortunately, we don't have the rights to that one, so how about some background music instead? I told you recently I was a bass player in a band called the Fry-Ups. Well, I finally found a tape of our demo, so later on you can enjoy the world premiere, 28 years after it was recorded, of Spoonful of Grease, written by yours truly. Enjoy. Ah, that takes me back, so it does. We could have been big, but as is usually the case, our big egos got in the way. We got into a big fight just because I kept turning the bass up in the mix. Would you believe it? Anyway, here's a song by a much less talented band. Looking out at the pointy mountains the other day, I was inspired to compose a poem. I didn't have a piece of paper to write it down on, but there was something about snow and hot chocolate and breaking your leg in 5 places. If only I could remember what rhymed with multiple fractures.
This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
I've signed up for a long-distance learning class, How to Build Your Own Nuclear Submarine. It's a childhood dream of mine, and I'm thrilled I'll finally make it come true after another 7,435 lessons. More great radio on the way.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
We've had a bit of excitement in the studio today. A squirrel came in off the street and managed to break into our old record room. After we chased him out, we found he'd taken an album out of its sleeve. So here it is, the squirrel's favourite record. I've been inundated with calls about my old band's demo, asking for copies at any price. Well, I hate to disappoint my legions of fans, so all 4 of you will be getting a tape of the Fry-Ups' rare and almost forgotten masterpiece. Sent them this morning, 2nd class. You're very welcome. There's a new health company in town, and their innovative methods are causing quite a stir. I, for one, can't wait to be injured in some horrible way so I can see their work for myself. In the meantime, here's a song that's guaranteed to make you feel ill. I hear famed actor Roderick Cushion is staying at a certain hotel in Grockle Bay this week, fresh off his latest blockbuster, Perilous Spandex 5. I was a big fan of the previous 4, so this song is dedicated to him. I've received a letter from Graham Cornishon, who is currently laid up in hospital down in Flemington. Graham is a big fan of Jasmine Odyssey and would like to hear her latest single. Well, we don't have that one, but I can play this song by a completely unrelated artist. Hope you like it. There's nothing quite as refreshing as a can of moose juice, and it tastes even better if you're washing down a bag of cheesy gubbins. Now listen to these lovely tunes while I take a shower. If you go fishing off the coast of Hogsport, don't make the mistake I did and use briny brittle as bait. The sea turned black, thousands of fish floated dead to the surface, and a loud voice proclaimed the end of times. If only I'd had a camera. I volunteered for some tests at Bungle Technologies. I don't know what they injected into me, but it doesn't seem to have had any effect. Eyeballs are supposed to be purple, right? We'll be right back, here on 2 Point Radio. Some unsettling news today. The air quality in Smogly is bad enough to kill a canary, and a new study says the pollution is spreading to the rest of the county. So take an umbrella with you. There could be pigeons falling out of the sky. In the news today, conditions at the Rotting Hill Hospital are getting worse every day. Apparently, patients are just as likely to die from sinkholes and crumbling ceilings as any diseases. At least that'll keep the queues down. And now the news. A dangerous animal has escaped from Grockle Bay Zoo, though the authorities have yet to reveal what species. Rumour has it that it's a 9-foot half tiger, half rhino with a big appetite. And just think, you won't need to buy a ticket to see it. It's time for the news now. A leak has been discovered in one of the Meltdown's factories. Police say they may have to evacuate the surrounding region, which sounds like a great excuse to go on holiday for a few weeks. Lucky people. It's the news on 2 Point Radio. Chorus Bridge out on Smogly is in danger of collapsing after being struck by a meteorite last night. Drivers are urged to drive over it really fast, just in case. More news coming up just as soon as we have any. Now for some news. Lecturers at the local teaching hospital have gone on strike after all the books in its medical library were sold at auction. Let's hope our future doctors have already learned everything they need to know. Another earthquake warning for the Sweaty Palms area. Or as the hotels like to tell the tourists, it's time to look forward to another bouncy ground fun time. Enjoy your stay. It's time for the news around 2 Point County. A devastating avalanche in the Underlook area has swept away all the entries in this year's snowman building competition. We'll bring you updates on the efforts to dig them out. But for now, here's a bit more music for you. I've got some very exciting news for you today. Shortly, we'll be having a call-in competition that will just knock your socks off. Oh, what a prize! You simply won't believe it. Stick around for an announcement after this next tune.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
Bad news, I'm afraid. The competition I promised has been cancelled. The amazing prize appears to have gone astray. I know I put it down here somewhere. Oh well, on to more music. Some disturbing news today as a new virus starts to spread through 2 Point County. Symptoms include death, rising from the grave, and an insatiable hunger for human flesh. No, wait. I'm being told that was just the film I fell asleep to last night. Well, isn't that a relief? I've decided it's time to give something back to this wonderful profession. I'm creating a radio internship so I can pass on all my knowledge and experience to a new generation. So if you have a passion for music, talking, and jockeying discs, send in an application. You too could be playing songs like this one. Well, clearly that was the wrong song. I'm afraid young Kirby, my new intern, hasn't quite grasped what each button does. And this coffee doesn't taste right. Wait, I think I can smell something burning. We'll be right back. And now a word from our sponsors, Palpitation, the premier energy drink. If you're having trouble sleeping, one quick swig will make you so relaxed people will think you're dead. Wait, this isn't the right copy. This is for drowsy drink. I think I'll go and have a word with young Kirby while you listen to this. I'm very happy to say young Kirby has graduated from 2 Point Radio's first ever internship program and has gone on to better things. In other news, the internship program is being cancelled until further notice, which means I can concentrate on my ever faithful listeners. This record is dedicated to all of you.
This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
Are you ready for some top-notch entertainment? Well, you'll have to settle for me, Ricky Hawthorne, here on 2 Point Radio. And we start with this lovely number.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
I know you've missed me, but not to worry. The Ricky Hawthorne Show is back on 2 Point Radio to chase away your blues, your reds, and even your yellows. Cheer up, dear listeners. Ricky Hawthorne is back with more great music on 2 Point Radio, so don't go anywhere. This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio. A warm welcome once again. I'm Ricky Hawthorne, and you're listening to 2 Point Radio. We're going to start today's show with a lively number. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio. The moment you've been waiting for is finally here. That's right, Ricky Hawthorne here with hours upon hours of chat, music, and miscellaneous filler. Stick around. I just made myself a cup of tea. Is there anything more soothing and comforting? This next tune is very much like a cup of tea. It's wet, it's hot, and it's full of sugar. So let your ears drink it down. In the news today, local police are warning citizens about an influx of counterfeit socks all around the county. So remember, if a sock salesman comes knocking at your door, check his credentials carefully. This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio. Time for the news. Eyes for You, the popular hog sport opticians, was burgled last night. Thieves made off with all the charts used for testing. So, if you see anyone carrying a poster full of letters around the town, see if you can make out the fourth line down. That's a tricky one. In the news, a new study suggests going to a hospital could pose a risk to your health. After polling more than 200 people who had recently visited hospitals, the author of the report found many of them to be dead. More news in an hour. And now the news. The infamous Flemington litterer has finally been caught. The criminal, whose real name is Bertie Pramswaggle, is 72 years old and has been dropping litter for decades. His speciality was empty packets of crisps. I think we'll all sleep easier knowing Bertie is off the streets. There's a lot of negativity out there these days, so I'm starting a new segment called The Best Thing About My Town. So, wherever you are in 2 Point County, I want you to call in and tell me what's the best thing about your town. Can't wait to hear from you. We've been inundated with calls for our new segment, The Best Thing About My Town. Sandy Bottom says the best thing about Flottering is its ancient castle, where the ghosts of ancient kings and queens come out and dance every night. You're not one, Sandy, but it takes all sorts. Another heartwarming call from a listener in Flemington this time, Jarvis Topshelf, who says, the best thing about my town is how nobody can afford to live here unless they're very, very rich. Now, how's that for honesty? Marvellous. I asked all you dear listeners to get in touch and tell us what the best thing about your town is. Well, Kelly Andiron says what she likes most about Smogley is how the thick chemical haze protects her from the harmful rays of the sun. That's the spirit, Kelly. The latest listener to call in and tell us about the best thing about their town is Andy Puddington, who lives in Sweaty Palms. What he likes most, he says, is the way the furniture rearranges itself after every earthquake. No need to redecorate there. And it's time for another listener to tell us about what the best thing about their town is. Sandra Crableg called in from Rotting Hill to say it's not got much going for it, but at least it has an honest name. That's what we like to hear, Sandra. Always look on the bright side. It's always lovely to hear from you people out there, especially when it's to tell us the best thing about your town. Barry called in to say the best thing about the meltdowns are the strange three-eyed animals that have escaped the labs of Bungle Technologies. That delightful Jasmine Odyssey isn't just a pop-singing sensation, she's also quite the humanitarian. Why, only this morning, she was visiting some of our local hospitals. She insisted on singing a song or two, even when the patients begged her not to. What an angel! The dashing Roderick Cushion, star of the perilous spandex films, was seen doing a bit of publicity down at a local hospital today. I'm sorry, did I say publicity? I meant charity, of course. That odd chap, Augustus Lavender, CEO of Holistics, was seen stepping into one of the county's hospitals today. Rumour has it he had a suitcase full of his wonderful wellness candles with him. Never one to miss a chance to make a sale, is old Lavender. The head of Bungle, Sophie Nova, dropped by a local hospital earlier today. She's said to have been shocked that the doctors there conducted so few experiments on their patients. It's nice to see she hasn't lost her sense of wonder. Some hospital patients were lucky enough today to receive a visit from Agatha Sphere, the Orb Foundation's enlightened leader. No confirmed reports yet on whether her chanting cured anybody, but we'll keep you updated. In today's news, Minister for Health Tarquin Foxbridge visited some local hospitals. The tireless politician was making sure they're conforming with all the proper regulations. So, on behalf of all 2 Point Radio, I can say thank you for taking such good care of us, Mr. Foxbridge. You can always count on Mayor Tabitha Windsock to be out and about this fine county of ours. This very morning, she was seen visiting a local hospital. Well, if a visit from the mayor doesn't cure you, I don't know what will. Our roving reporter, Sally Figblanket, has been out recording a new segment on 2 Point County's hospitals. I've never actually seen any of her pieces, but I'm told they're very good indeed. Keep up the sterling work, Sally. We're getting news of a rather sizable earthquake hitting one of our hospitals. If you're there now, try not to fall into any holes and stay away from any cracks in the walls. Oh, and have a listen to this lovely song. It'll calm you right down. Some alarming reports of an earthquake causing considerable damage to a local hospital. Hope nobody broke anything, but if you did, at least you're in the right place for it. Strap on your face masks, because we're getting reports of a new epidemic. I wouldn't worry too much though. Those fabulous men and women running the county's hospitals are sure to find a cure soon enough. And if they don't, there's still music like this to listen to. What will they think of next? Holistics, one of my favorite companies in the world, has come up with a Damson Jam face mask, which they claim has over a 3% chance of making you live longer. I've already ordered 2 boxes. There are those who say that the CEO of Bungle Technologies, the charmingly quirky Sophie Nova, is one conductive track short of a fully functioning circuit board. I have no idea what that means, but I do know a good tune from a bag of onions. Have a guess which one this is. There's an article in the Daily Sneer today accusing Bungle Tech of toying with nature and of employing far more mad scientists than the national average. Well, I for one think it's about time mad scientists had some place they can call home. I just looked out of the window and saw a monkey riding a moon bear, escapees from Grockle Bay Zoo, and advertising campaign for the Cirque du Parfait. I'll find out more while you listen to this cheeky little number. It turns out the monkey riding the moon bear was the latest moving art installation from 2 Point County's celebrated artist Arthur B. Cramp. Modern art, eh? Me, I like my art simple and monkeyless, just like this next song. We are experiencing some minor difficulties right now. I hope you can hear me, because I can't hear myself. I can't hear anything, as a matter of fact. Oh, wait, my headphones were unplugged. There we are. Lovely. It's another beautiful day in 2 Point County, so why not go out there and enjoy it? Visit Grockle Bay Zoo, take a boat trip out of Hogsport, or just sit in any of our wonderful parks. Whatever you do, don't forget to take your radio so I can enjoy it all with you. If we have time. Jumbo Corp boss Jumbo McNally visited a local hospital today in one of his routine goodwill tours. A spokesman for Mr. McNally said he handed out discount vouchers on some of Jumbo's most popular snacks. Wasn't that lovely of him?
A study of the nation's most powerful companies puts our very own Jumbo Corp in second place, calling it a ruthless, cutthroat operation hell-bent on dominating every area of the market. Or as I would put it, local boys done good. Here's a song to celebrate. Jumbo McNally, CEO of Jumbo Corp, put out a profit warning this morning. If we don't crush all opposition, he said, our shareholders may not make that extra billion I promised them. He assures everyone he has a plan in place. So that's a relief. There was a protest outside the headquarters of Jumbo Corp earlier today, accusing the company of suffocating small businesses and employing strong-arm tactics. Luckily, corporate security tear-gassed the crowd, and everything's back to normal. Super! It's time to fill your ears with sunshine because Ricky Hawthorne is back on 2 Point Radio. We have hours of fun ahead, so don't go anywhere. This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio. This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio, and I know you've missed me just as much as I've missed you, so don't move that dial. You're listening to Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio. Are you ready for bland music and banal banter? Then you're in luck, because I'm Ricky Hawthorne, and you're listening to 2 Point Radio. 2 Point County's valiant health and safety watchdog Henry Jobsworth has been called into the new Sweaty Palms fast food restaurant Roach Burgers, home to the crunchiest burgers in town. No word yet on why the inspector's there. This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio. Would you believe it? Old Henry Jobsworth, the local health and safety inspector, is threatening to close down Merrydung Farm. Apparently the place is infested with cows, pigs and chickens. Steady on, Henry. Holistics Environmental Medicine and Pharmaceuticals, the company's healthcare branch, also known as HEMP, has announced its hospitals will now be completely free of palm oil. Holistics will now use orangutan oil in all its medicine instead. I went to a Holistics nature commune last week to see what they could do about my gravy allergy. They recommended a long stay at their spa and a bottle of rosemary extract. It cost me a month's wages, but I'm finally starting to feel the effects. Still can't eat gravy though. Bongal Meditech is in the news today after claiming they've found a cure for acne. They say all it requires is replacing 99% of one's blood with newt blood. The company hopes to start trialing the procedure early next year. Bungle was forced to close one of its experimental treatment centers this morning after its cybernetic doctors experienced a malfunction and started performing autopsies on all patients. Bungle says the error is being corrected and the centers will reopen soon. A report released today claims that 2 Point County has the best medical coverage in the country. And while it does say it can't vouch for what goes on in the Orb Wellness Centres, they're sure those are top-notch too. That's good enough for me. The healthcare branch of the Orb Foundation has launched a new campaign called Real Doctors. Who needs them? Well, according to this lovely pamphlet, not me, the healing power of the orb should do just fine. Jumbo Medical Solutions has introduced a wonderful new feature in all their hospitals. At one press of a button, bedridden patients can now order any Jumbo product and have it flown in by drone directly to their room. How's that for convenient? A bit of a scandal this morning after it emerged that Jumbo Medical Solutions has been secretly extracting blood samples from people using Jumbo vending machines. The company says it's merely monitoring the health of all its customers, which is awfully nice of them, I must say. We hear that Jumbo is preparing to expand into the music business. They'll be holding auditions with hopeful singers all week, and so many people have been queuing up to pay the registration fee, Jumbo has already declared the venture highly profitable. Those clever so-and-sos. This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
Jumbo is introducing a new range of mobile phones that track your every movement, record everything you say, and make high-definition videos of everything you do. What a convenient way of keeping track of yourself. After the Daily Sneer revealed the shockingly low wages Jumbo pays most of its employees, the company has launched an internal investigation into the matter. It says it hopes it'll soon be able to pay no wages at all, which is one way of dealing with the problem, I suppose. A charming little story in the news today. Little Kathy Crumple reported her cat missing a week ago, but I'm happy to say Mr. Whiskers has been found safe and sound in the Sweaty Palms Casino. Apparently, he made enough playing the slots to buy himself a half-ton bag of catnip. Marvellous. And now the news. A gang of thieves is terrorizing the county with over a dozen break-ins reported in the past month. Police say the criminals are mostly interested in used, cheap plastic pens. So, if you're ever looking for a pen and can't find one, you may be one of the unfortunate victims. Time for all the latest news around the county. Well, would you look at that? Seems nothing at all has happened today. Ah, well, you know what they say. No news is good news. In the news, 2 Point County's oldest photography store is in trouble after a shortage in chemicals used during darkroom processing. We'll let you know if there are any developments. Some breaking news now. A meteorite has been spotted streaming through the sky and headed right for 2 Point County. Just kidding. It's actually headed to the county right next to ours, so we should all be nice and safe. In today's headlines, lottery winner Arthur Compass has announced winning the jackpot hasn't changed him one bit. He made this announcement floating over Croquembouche in his new gold-plated hovercraft, just like he's always done. We're in the mood for romance here on 2 Point Radio, so if you have a request you'd like to dedicate to your significant other, well, perhaps you should call them something nicer than significant other, but also tell us how you met and what song you'd like us to play. Mildred Shears has called in to request the next song for her husband, Clarence. They met 7 years ago on a cruise ship that sailed from Hogsport and landed at Crockle Bay 40 minutes later. Plenty of time for love to blossom, as well as dysentery. This next song is dedicated to Alison from her boyfriend, Freddie Cheddar. They met last week while doing community service, picking up litter at Grogbin's Ring, and have pledged to love each other forever. Let's try to make it to the 2-week anniversary first, Freddie. Oh, yes.
This is Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
Jenny Rumblebug would like to dedicate this next song to Cassie, whom she met 2 years ago during a skiing weekend in Underlook, in which they discovered neither of them liked skiing, snow, or mountains. Two kindred spirits indeed. Norm has called in to request this next song for his sweetheart, Aggie, to celebrate 62 years of being together. They met when they both decided to rob the same bank, after which they went on a crime spree that lasted 20 years. Not sure you want to admit that on the radio, Norm, but congratulations anyway. Lily has requested the upcoming song for her darling Pete, who she hasn't seen for 2 months. Pete is currently working in a highly secret and classified government facility in the Meltdowns. Well, not so secret now, eh, Pete? Enjoy this smashing tune. Sergeant Danny Thimble would like to dedicate the upcoming song to his lifelong partner Tom, an anesthesiologist. They met while performing surgery on a knobbly knee patient, and I can't think of anything more romantic than that. It's not easy keeping your spirits up in these difficult times, which is why we have a Nice Words of the Day segment. So send in your favourite inspirational phrases, and we can spread our joy far and wide.
You're listening to Ricky Hawthorne on 2 Point Radio.
Today's Nice Words of the Day quote comes from Bob Washcloth, who says, "Live every moment like you're late for work and the toaster's on fire." I'm not sure what that means, but everybody loves toast. Some good advice from George Bristles, who sent in this quote. If at first you fail, be thankful that you have friends. Watching them fail too will make you feel better. He's right, you know. Helen Topsoil has sent in this uplifting saying which never fails to bring a smile to her face. Life is like a carrot. It's your job to be a rabbit. Well, if nothing else, you'll have good eyesight, I suppose. John Hinges has taken our nice words of the day idea a little bit too literally, I believe. His suggestions were sponge, curvature, and plonk. Well, those are very nice words, John, so I'll let that stand. Alison Cattle has sent us her favourite inspirational phrase. Love, she says, is the ladle that stirs the soup of life. I use a ladle to serve the soup into big bowls, not stir it, but I guess it works both ways. Today's words of inspiration come from Anthony Naval, who says, don't be afraid of disappointment or your next dentist appointment. I'll keep that in mind next time I'm due for a checkup. Augusta Follicle has called in with her nice words of the day, which are, sprinkle a little magic on your breakfast and give flight to your soul all day. A nice sentiment, Augusta, but we don't condone the taking of illegal substances on 2 Point Radio. Words to live by from Biffo Spender in today's inspirational quotes. A good platitude is worth 1,000 latitudes. Not so great advice for navigators, though. It's time for Nice Words of the Day, which today comes courtesy of Annabella Parrott. Defeat the no inside you, and everything will turn out yes. A profound sentiment, or total gibberish? You decide, dear listeners. Boris Catterwall has contributed a particularly rousing and patriotic inspirational quote to remember in the face of adversity. Keep calm and continue spewing banalities. I will, Boris. I certainly will. Today's thought for the day is something of a conundrum and was suggested by a loyal listener, Katie Bottle. Be thankful for wisdom. It makes you wise enough to know what to be thankful for. Well, I'm thankful for that quote, Katie. Someone by the name of Jimbo Company has suggested this hopeful quote. If the world gets too much, take a deep breath and go shopping. Jimbo goes on to say that all Jumbo products are 20% off this weekend. Good to know, Jimbo. Marjorie Dillpickle sends us today's nice words of the day, which are, if you are confident, everything else will follow. That's right, Marjorie, including old age and death. I'm confident of that. Thomas Starkers has contributed today's inspirational quote. There's nothing you can't do with sufficient determination, except make yourself invisible. That requires magic or some kind of super futuristic technology. You're probably right, Thomas. You're probably right. Megan Purse has sent in a very thorough quote for today's nice words of the day. Remember that you are strong and blessed, that to live is to learn, and that all bad things happen for a reason, while good ones come to those who wait. That's a lot of nice words, Megan. In the news today, a group of backpackers have been airlifted out of Tumble Ridge after spending a week wandering the woods, then another week stranded on the edge of a cliff. It seems nobody broke anything or tried to eat anybody else. So that counts as a successful trip in my book. After receiving over 4 applications to the 2 Point Radio internship position, we now have a winner. Kirby Pliers stood head and shoulders above everyone else. Well, he is 6'10". Wish him good luck. He'll be starting right after this song. I got handed a leaflet about the Orb Foundation one morning last week. What an absolutely lovely bunch of people, I thought to myself, and not at all like a cult. You'll never guess what happened next. I was telling you about the mysterious Orb Foundation. Well, after being handed a leaflet, I was approached by one of its senior members. I, of course, told them I was very interested in joining their secretive and bizarre organization, and an interview was set up for the very next day, and I'll tell you about it later. To continue my tale about the Orb Foundation, I'm pleased to say my interview went very well indeed. I was booked in for my indoctrination, where I would finally learn all about the greatness of the Orb and get my own set of robes. But then came an unexpected twist. Stay tuned to find out what it was. Alas, my Orb Foundation adventure did not have a happy ending, and you'll never guess why. They kicked me out for being too negative a person. Who would have thought it? Took away my robes and everything. Oh well, life goes on, as they say. And so does our radio show. A warm greeting to you all this fine morning, especially those of you in Flottering, where renovations have been completed on the bridge that leads to the town's ancient castle. Officials say people crossing over will no longer need to wear parachutes and life jackets. It just won't be the same. What can I say about Flemington? With its beautiful winter gardens, its magnificent mansions, and its resident dukes, barons, and baronets. Well, I wish I could afford to live there for one thing. But I guess I'll settle for a visit instead. A very short, very expensive visit. And now to Duckworth-upon-Bilge, where recent financial struggles have hit public services particularly hard. So if you're planning to get sick or undergo any operations, I suggest you do that somewhere else. It'll take a resourceful mind and a confident hand to sort out this mess. Any volunteers? Residents of Blyton are celebrating this morning after their town was voted least hygienic place in 2 Point County for the 6th year running. They'll be hoping to retain their most epidemics and most people squished together in hot conditions crowns too. Good luck to them. Here we are in Croquembouche, the busiest, most bustling district in the whole of 2 Point County. And what a lovely place it is. A glass jungle with fierce competitive corporations vie for domination, and with a week are trampled by crowds. Never a dull moment, I can tell you. So if you want to work here, roll up your sleeves and get stuck in.